It is the year 0079 of the Universal Century. A half-century has passed since Earth began moving its burgeoning population into gigantic orbiting space colonies. A new home for mankind, where people are born and raised and podcast. As the crew finds themselves back in the one-year ward, they find themselves asking, do we really need to be back here? Luckily for them, the Universal Century has never gotten over the scars of the one-year war. And what better way to relive that trauma than experiencing a fun little side story? Will the crew be able to find someone on the other side of the conflict that they want to bone enough that they're willing to be court-martialed? It's time for them to get into their ground-use type Gundams and find out.
Betrayed anyone in my entire life.
Welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants, a giant robot power hour discussing mechs across media, their stories, and why we love them. I'm Nico, and I'm joined by Alice.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna deploy my spindly little legs over here with a giant target mark on them. If you could not shoot the giant balls on my legs, I would really appreciate it.
And Brian?
Hey Snake, do you think toxic Yuri can bloom even between two miserable straight people?
And our guest, Jonathan Durham, welcome!
And I want to live, and I'm gonna marry Ina, and we're gonna grow old together.
Now that's bold. You are going to have to fight Shiro, but I believe in your vision. This time around, we're evaluating the Gundam franchise's most concerted effort yet to synthesize heterosexual Charmuro with Mobile Suit Gundam, the 08th MS team. Let's launch into it.
I love that they had to normalize red pilot suits for Xeon pilots because they keep doing it in different series.
It was so unsubtle. I'm like, oh, she's in the red pilot suit, huh? She's blonde and has a complex relationship with her family.
Some kind of encounters in space happen. It's interesting.
She's blonde, but she's blonde in the way that it's like you did the chemical balancing at the hairdresser wrong. She has straw hair that's gone copper green in places. It's awful.
She's gone swimming in a pool that uses too much chlorine.
Yes.
Oh, well, as mentioned in our intro, we have a guest for this episode. Welcome back, John, champion of the Big O Part 2. And I say that because you single-handedly saved me from a crash out on the Big O Part 2. So welcome back.
I'm pleased to be here. It's great to see you all. Thank you very much for having me back.
Just describe here. I wrote down in the notes. By the way, I'm puppeting you right now. This is a puppeted episode.
We didn't go over this.
I have activated your.
Yeah,
your new type conditioning. I'm gonna need you to read exactly what I wrote as
if you could refer to Alice as master throughout.
Yeah.
Now I'll do anything for podcast, but I won't do that.
It's all right. I like to dangerously inflate people's ego, so I will call Alice master.
Good. Dangerous inflation.
I don't care about Alice Wolf's dynamic. Anything you say,
I need
master.
you to get in this mass production Quebbly, by the way. Don't ask what for.
So yeah, we've had John on before. John is known online as AB at abmakesthings.bsky.social. And you may know his work best from Stories from Seoul, the Gundog, which we have covered and praised on this podcast because it's good as hell.
What about this part right here? Don't forget this part. This part's important.
identifying him as Welsh? Are we going to do that for all of our guests? Like, hey, and what's your what's your nationality?
That's like one of the 3 things Jonathan has in their Blue Sky profile. I feel like you can point to it. Okay,
things I have going for me.
I will only mention it if we are getting those Welsh government dollars.
Better game, Welsh, Big O season 2 episode. That's it.
Watch yourself, Nico, or I will send you back to more reconditioning.
Oh no. I can't afford to be reminded of my fate as a pleb clone.
Anyway, welcome back, Jonathan. I'm so happy to have you back. When we were talking about the 1 year pod, I reached out to you and you immediately latched on to 08 the best team. And I know why, knowing who you are as a person.
Okay.
Yeah, we both have the same reason, don't we?
Jonathan's current profile on Blue Sky is ground type GM. So let's just...
Yes. And this OVA caused me a lot of trauma because it's just GMs getting vaporized left and right. Episode 11, we bring in GM
so
body
sad.
horror.
Oh my god.
You don't see a GM go for more than 30 seconds in this show without it just turning to dust. It's very upsetting.
You gotta put a Gundam head on that thing.
The 2 nameless red-shirted gun tanks that are also there to get tragically obliterated was really hurtful
3.
too.
3 of
3,
them.
sorry, 3, yeah.
It's rough. It's rough out here. Oh, but yeah, we are talking about 08 the Mess Team. I said to Alice when we started the 1 year prod project, because Alice was like, "Oh God, I've got too many Gundams. I've got more Gundams that I want to cover this year than I have hosts. Can I ask you to take on a few of these properties so that we can fit them all into the year?" And I said, "Yes, but you have to give me your favorites. You don't get to host your favorites. You get to do all the work. You get to write all the notes. I host your favorites."
Thanks for asking, listeners. I said no. Not only did I say no, I had my own Gundam pick on the schedule, and last week I took it off.
Nico did say, "Give me your firstborn," and I handed her 08 the Mess Team.
You really did. You really did. And last night I was looking at the way you summarized it, and I have edited it. So get ready to watch your child raised in an environment you didn't want. All right. But for the facts that Alice has assembled for us, 08 the Mess Team was produced in 1996 by Sunrise. It is 12 episodes of 25 minutes each and a recap film called Miller's Report, which is 51 minutes. This is not part of a franchise.
What?
Oh.
Just thought I'd try it on. Nope. Obviously, this is the 3rd in the OVA series for Gundam, coming after 0083. This came right on the heels of Gundam Wing. Sorry, I'm laughing about that one. And wrapped up right before Turn A Gundam and G-Savior. As we all know, G-Savior being the terminus of the Universal Century, and also the key text to understanding Gundam.
Jesus Christ.
So this started in 1995 as a 3rd in the well-received Gundam OVA series. The original director of the show was Takayuki Kanda, known for the Ultraman, Dragon Warrior, SD Gundam the movie, until he died suddenly during the production of the 6th episode. Now, we've discussed this before on our podcast, but I think it's worth asking you, John. In your field, have you named your successor? You already elected. I'm going to make my very brave spouse take over my mic, and they will hate the entire experience. So, like, have you kind of thought of who's going to completely take over your reins if you suddenly die in the middle of a production?
No, I'm going to die as I lived, and that's leaving everyone bitterly unsatisfied.
That's
Tomino.
Interpret the text on your own. Fuck you!
So yeah, he died suddenly during the production of the 6th episode, so smack in the middle. The series was then taken over. Yeah, Brian? Go.
I'm going to feel like such an asshole during this. That's all. I'm going to feel like such an asshole when I talk about my journey with this show.
Every time you make a comment about, like, I don't know, maybe like a feeling of a break point in the middle of the show, or like maybe a change in direction, a change in tone, think about the fact you're spitting on the grave of a dead man. So just keep that in mind. So the series was then taken over by director Umanosuke Ida, known for Devilman, Hellsing 2001, but mostly a storyboard artist. The 2 parts have a different tone, going from boots on the ground to tighter character drama. The writing was done by Akira Okitani, who created a design for the series centered around the Apsara plotline, which...
We can just call him the big boy going forward.
The swagless Big Zam is what I was thinking of it as.
Once we mass produce this totally not Big Zam, we'll win the war.
It's wretched.
These are different legs. It's not the Big Zam. It's got different legs. You can't call it the Big Zam.
It also has a
got
Zaku
worse
head
legs.
in there. You blink if you miss it. There's a tiny little Zaku head nestled in there.
Every time.
Every
time I see it, I'm happy.
I kept waiting for that Zaku to stand up. I'm like, surely at some point that Zaku's going to stand up. No, that Zaku is trapped inside it.
All the figurines where they've replaced the Big Zam's legs with Barbie doll legs, I think I think the Absolus could pull off the Barbie doll legs better than the Big Zam.
Yes.
I'm just going to put that
you're
out
right.
there.
You're right about that. That's true.
100%.
Hey, baby, do those legs go all the way up? Why, yes, they do.
Okay, so
She's
cosplay
femme.
idea for anyone who feels really confident with their legs.
I'm on it.
So yes, when the original director passed away, writing was passed to Hiroaki Kitayama, who that should be Kitajima. Why did I gave it the Czech Y? Oh.
Goes to Czech for 1 week, starts pronouncing things like they're
I'm
Czech
so
and
used
not
to pronouncing
glorious
J's as Ys.
Japanese.
Shit.
Lock in.
Hiroaki Kitajima, who kept the main plot but adjusted the focus of set pieces. It's worth noting that Okatani and Kitajima traded scripts back and forth throughout to ensure the boots on the ground focus was kept in. Hey, many scriptwriters could learn from this. Did you know that you can share your work with other creatives to make sure you've achieved a certain level of polish and consistency? No?
Hey, I know you're not working on this job anymore, but could you give me advice? A thing that would never happen in the modern anime industry.
So the music was composed by Kohei Tanaka, who did music for Gunbuster, Pat Labor, G Gundam, and like every Sakura Wars game ever.
Hell yeah.
I would say I enjoyed it.
I
It was really
loved the soundtrack on this damn show. It's so good.
Continuously good. It's really solid throughout.
Yeah. And notably, this is the time when Gundam becomes a rotating station for Sunrise to put assorted creatives into. And the dilution of the media empire meant that people could try new things outside of Tomino's original vision for the Gundam series and the 1 Year War.
It was kind of a demarcation line. I don't know who wrote this background, but they probably read a lot about all of this. And it was a very cool demarcation line where they got to a certain point where we had these side stories in manga. Gundam leaned a lot on manga in the early years to tell disparate stories that were outside of the Charmuro plotline. But at this point, we finally have like, hey, we're doing other things with the 1 Year War than talking about Amuro and Char constantly. Why don't we do more of those in our anime? And I think this is where you start to see when the UC becomes people's favorite, is when we don't talk about Charmuro. We know it's there. We know there are dead men in space who are in love, but we can focus on smaller stories in that world.
Yeah, and I mean, just based on what I've seen, I do think that was kind of what they were trying to pivot to. Like, when you see Zeta, obviously they've changed protagonists, but it's still very much the Amuro and Char story. It's so trapped in the gravity in the orbit of that conflict. But with Double Zeta and going to, like, Judao and, like, his group of team, like, you could feel them start to pull in a direction, and everything we've watched since has been kind of, I really do. I understand what you're saying there, Alice, even not having watched like everything Gundam. It feels really good to know that the space opera is happening, but we're just going to look over here, or we're going to look over here. Like, that's really appealing.
Yeah.
So what did y'all know about Oatham, a little indie anime Oatham team before we chose to cover it? I will invite our guest to speak first. John, what did you know? Because I know you've got some feelings. I read the notes.
So, 8th MS team, I think I actually engaged with it before I actually watched 0079. So that kind of really set me up for a specific and early interpretation of what Gundam should be, quote unquote. And it came at a time where I was much more, wow, cool robot than actual textual interpretation. And I think sort of almost in all of Gundam, 8th MS team benefits the most from wow, cool robot. And I think, Brian, I've seen your notes about the Goof vs. Easy 8 fight, and I think everyone has watched that YouTube video at some point in their life, including myself, multiple times. and I've shown it to people. So yeah, like I saw it first, and it did lead to like a bit of initial disappointment. I think I've actually had a bit of a difficult journey with 8th MS Team, which is why I wanted to discuss it, because I wanted a proper reason to go back to it, and I kind of wanted to address my feelings with it. Because when we spoke last, and you mentioned the 1 year pod, and you gave me sort of a list of options, I wanted to go for 0083 because it is indisputably cool as hell and one of the best OVAs.
Hell yeah.
But I thought this one would be more interesting to talk about, just kind of how it exists within the franchise, how it exists within the community, and how it exists within Gundam.
That's a really great approach to it, because I do think, like, one thing we determined during the Metal Year was, like, you know, Alice and Brian had been immersed in the fandom and, like, in discourse for so long, and I came to it completely fresh with, like, only really knowing memes. And that really does create a very different relationship to what people will think of as, like, a seminal text. So I'm glad you came to do talk therapy with us after administering talk therapy to me.
Yeah.
All right, Alice, do you know anything about this little side story?
A few things. This was when I was younger. This and 0083 were kind of my favorite. This one had the benefit for those who had Toonami that this was a Toonami Gundam. This was one of the few that they put on Toonami. So I saw it multiple times. I don't know. It's one of those things where I think the reason I think of 08th MS Team as much as I do, rotating it in my mind, is because it's a fallible property. Like, in my mind, 0083 is perfect. I have literally zero notes, but 08th MS Team, like, we talked about it in the pre-show, but every time the 12th episode happens, I'm still surprised it's happening.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, I got to have that experience.
But the beat to beat when they're in soldier-orientated combat is so enthralling, and I think that them fighting the Zeon in the trenches in the jungle warfare has sailed so many ships of media. I want to call out another podcast, but Fetty Scum, I think, is pretty heavily inspired by 08th MS Team of, hey, what if they were just regular Joes who didn't do the new type sound? And I think it'll always have a special place in my heart, and I will always defend the dumbest woman who has ever worked for Zeon.
Oh my god.
I do like the idea that episode 12 only exists because there were, like, no new types in it, and they had, like, a new type quota they had to hit. So they're like, shit, do we have a basket of cyber new types laying around we can dump in here?
Or do we have ghosts? Brian, what about you?
Yeah, the only thing I knew about this was that it had a bunch of like mobile suits that are not my favorite mobile suits, but I've also seen like everyone else, I've seen video clips of the EZ8 versus Goof fight. I have also seen the gif of Shiro sidestepping a point blank shot from a mobile suit's cannon, like many times in my life, as something that people point to for like, what the fuck are we doing anymore? I actually think it kind of hit in the moment, but yeah, that was basically all I knew going in, and yeah, I had a hard time with this one. I'm not going to lie.
Well, he was in max mode for that, by the way. We'll talk about max mode later.
Okay, sure.
Oh, and Alice never cares what I think, but I'll go ahead and chime in here.
Fuck you.
No, so it's well known to the listener of the podcast exactly the extent to which I had engaged with Gundam before this project, which was not very much and weirdly. Right? Like, I had seen War in the Pocket. War in the Pocket, I will say, is the one that Alice kind of came to the group chat like, hey, I want to watch Gundam with y'all. Can we watch this one? It's short. It's really good. Like, what are we going to... And so, like, that was my first exposure, which I think is a funny lens to then, like you were talking about, John, it's like, you know, to see 08th MS Team and then have that kind of be the frame of what you look at the rest of Gundam with. For me, that was War in the Pocket. And so, like, in some ways, this is familiar territory in terms of, like, let's look at a really small part of this conflict. And then, like, having the camera zoom out and seeing the rest of it. Like I talked about in our episode on the 0079 compilation movies, how weird it was to be so invested in one prototype Gundam Alice. The prototype Gundam Alice, which is just like in the trans flag colors. That's the only difference. But the prototype Gundam Alex versus one Zaku, and like to be so invested in that, and then go to 0079 and just watch 5 million Zaku get obliterated every minute. Like it is a weird thing to start from an OVA and have that be your frame and then go. But I think the funnier thing for me was like all I knew about 08th MS Team is that it was Alice's favorite. And I had some ideas about why that might be. The appearance of GMs, even if they're getting melted into slag, you know, was some of it. The very MASH tone of it. The very Milsim nerd tone of it. Especially with the use of the tank and extensive use of the sonar and the backup support for the team. Like, I can see now where some of that comes from, but I had no information on this, which meant I had a really interesting revelation here, which is I think I have finally watched enough mech anime to know that I am a real robot fan versus a super robot fan. Listeners will be going, yes, obviously, because I didn't respond well to like Giant Robo the
Any of the super robot that we've covered at all.
But I hadn't really considered those like genres before. And then, you know, when you're seeing boots on the ground, when you're seeing this stuff, I went, oh yeah, I mean, there's a reason Pat Labor 2 is still one of my favorites. Like I like this kind of smaller scale, nitty gritty. Let's literally pull plates off the Gundam and climb in there. Yeah, but I mean, otherwise, I had no clue what I was in for. And yeah, I got to have the fantastic experience of watching 11 episodes and being like, damn, that was actually like a decent ending. Like it was complex and it was ambiguous, but like, I'm pretty happy with that. And then episode 12 starts.
Tell me what happened in this. And also, this doesn't look like the synopsis that I gave you. Poll 13.
Oh no. I fed it up a little bit. I'm sorry. What happened here? The 08th MS Team, a plucky band of Federation soldiers, finds themselves caught in another Zeon superweapon plotline, which bears more than a passing resemblance to the construction of the Death Star if Tarkin had mommy issues devastating enough to liquidate the Empire's whole engineering corps, and the fatal flaw in the Death Star happened to be his sister complex. In the jungles of ambiguously Southeast Asia, young ensign Shiro Amada takes command over jaded pilot and medic Master Chief in my subs, trying to find her actual title. The official Gundam website has a different title. The Gundam Wiki has a different title. Everything I found had a different title for her, so I'm going with the subtitles that were on the discs that I found in the downed Xeon craft that Brian directed me towards.
Yes.
This is my Master Chief.
This is also my Master Chief.
Apparently cursed sole survivor Sergeant Terry Sanders Jr., would-be musician and sonar tech Corporal Elidor Massis, and lovesick greenhorn Corporal Mikkel Ninarich. A disharmonious team, jungle weather, and local guerrillas aren't his only worries because he's made a dangerous love connection with the female pilot of the new experimental Zeon superweapon, Aina Sahalan. The sister, in the previously mentioned superweapon designer, Genius Sahalan.
In the Genius. It's Genius.
Genius, I'm sorry, it's Genius. We all know what they were doing. His fatal sister complex. This is her. Sister from Sister Complex. Despite everyone around them crashing out on a monumental scale, the star-crossed lovers assert their shared opposition to the senselessness of war and sacrifice nearly everything to stop bad actors on both sides of their front in the one-year war from committing more atrocities than they already have. In the grand scale of the one-year war, this is a Pyrrhic victory. But hey, Shiro gets Aina knocked up, and the ghost of Shinzo Abe is the true winner.
Fuck off! Fuck off!
The way that was my last note literally says, I'm gonna level with you, late Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe. This will not
I'm glad we had the same.
Yeah, no, I know.
I also had to put that in, oh yeah.
I have a meme. I'm going to prepare a meme for the release of this episode, which is who wore it better, Jonathan Glenn or Genius Sahalin, because they are literally the same guy in like ways that are so hurtful to me.
Oh, you can never trust a blonde man. Statement. All right, with that, we're going to head to the break.
What'll you have, stranger?
Yeah, you all got any of them podcasts on tap? Now, why on earth you gotta go and ask a stupid question like that in front of all these nice people? Now, no trouble, no harm. I'm just a humble mecha enjoyer done crossed the dry lands looking to soothe my parched throat. Ain't mean nothing by it. Kill him, Ted! You come sashaying into my saloon, all flowery words and whatnot, and you want a mecha podcast. Let me guess, you want one with images on his website and content warnings in the description. Fucking Yankee. Well, sure, that would be ideal. And I bet you want one that runs $1 a month Ko-Fi membership for access to a Fast and the Furious podcast that's currently publishing its first episode. Well, that's mighty specific, Hoss, but yes, I think that'd do me fine. Try On the Shoulders of Giants, stranger, where the cars don't fly bomb shot. Well, goddamn, barkeep, I'll never go thirsty again. Subscribe to our Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/osgpod. ko-fi.com/osgpod.
Alice, I've clearly failed you as a play clone, so I imagine you're going to liquidate me in sort of an exploitative and horrible fashion. Do you want to begin our recap here? Because you broke the media into the two sections.
Weird how there's two sections to this. I am going to need you to get into this experimental Psycho Frame Gundam real quick. Don't worry. It's not going to fuck with your brain, okay?
Okay.
Anyway, I'll read this while you do that.
Am I Zinnerman in this, or am I Banniger?
I broke this into two parts. If you watch this show, you kind of know that they have very disparate feelings. This was also released as an OVA, which was kind of 2 episodes per disc, so it kind of breaks into that pretty well. Part 1, episodes 1 through 6. This is the series of episodes directed by Takayuki Kanda and written by Akira Okiya. Aina and Shiro have a meet-cute in high Earth orbit. The 08th MS team gets thrown together and struggles to have team cohesion. In between fighting Zeke's and Zaku's. Between fighting Zaku's in the brush and getting embroiled with gorillas, the team gets swept up in the mystery of the new Zeon superweapon, finishing with a showdown in the desert, which leads to Shiro and Aina meeting again.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to talk about the ball.
Okay,
yes, we
do need to talk about the ball.
Before we talk about the ball, we need to talk about the impeccable character design of the co-pilot of this ship. She's there for 30 seconds. That's one of the strongest women designs I've seen in all of anime.
I haven't seen. I didn't. Is there a screen cap?
I'll pull it up real quick and get a screenshot. But
I missed her completely.
Here's the thing: she's drawn as if she's going to become a character that we will ever see again. She exists just for that scene.
I was too
beautiful.
enthralled, which is enthralled by ball.
She is the one at the bottom of the image I just shared.
Yeah, it is one of those things. There is just some good, strong character design.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I do think that that's a through line we will have throughout in terms of like there's good character design, there's good character writing, which I think is one of the few things that works well, except when the character writing abruptly changes. But otherwise,
I would say the side characters all have impeccable writing. They're all incredibly sharply drawn. They're all incredibly dynamic. I love the ways in which they all kind of suck. I think that this first episode for Shiro and Aina is a real rough departure. I'm not buying either of these two people like whatsoever. It's really unfortunate.
Visually, I think it's a lot of fun. It's incredible. That scene with the half the sunk Fetty spaceship, basically, when he opens the doors and corpses and things fly out with the depressurization, the ruined launches, the level of technical detail throughout is impeccable. But to go to your point about the character writing, I noticed you said side characters, which I assume is you specifically avoiding Shiro's writing in this. Because the whiplash when he's on the Fetty transport ship and he literally is there floating off as he tells Mikkel, I'm going to kill them all with a sly wink. And then immediately the first thing he says, although I will say he does have 2 lines where they escape the ball and the Zaku together and they have a very Ko and Gato moment where they're both on their cockpit hatches.
Yep.
Shiro steps out and he goes, "A woman?" And then later he's hunting around this spaceship like, "I'm sure I saw a woman." I was like, man, calm down. slow
when
down,
I'm sure
buddy.
I saw a woman.
Brian first befriending me, pursuing me around various Discord servers like a woman.
I mean, I think it's worth saying right up top, I absolutely hate how men treat women in this series. That's it. I just want to put that out there. It's kind of rancid. It's just terrible.
It's one of the more mild Tomino weird misogyny moments. Again, this isn't Tomino, but like Gundam franchise weird misogyny stuff. The Ghost of Freud we are being haunted by. Alice is going to get real mad in the second half, but like it is really a weird. There is a specific position that Gundam has on where women come from in a very specific sense of like why they get involved in conflicts and why they have the training they have. And I do think Aina is part of this, but it did present to me, I immediately saw this as like, okay, what if instead of Char being the center of things in like 0079 as an adversary, it had been Sayla, which I thought was maybe an interesting idea. I think the execution leaves something to be desired.
Yeah,
but like,
I get where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Aina missed her opportunity to be a sailor.
Yes, I was going to say that pretty much exactly. Yeah,
the sort of tone, because initially when she has the first shootout with Shiro, and so that GIF you talked about, Brian, that's not his first instance of being able to dodge bullets incredibly.
That's true.
In the Zero Gravity, he is nipping left and right. But she goes from really sort of reticent. She's like, "I'd rather you killed me. Don't touch me. Get off me." And then they go on that little scavenger hunt. And she is all, I don't know how the sub is because I only watched the dub, but the work the voice actor does in this, she is all giggles. Her register shifts up like an entire octave. It's like fireworks. Oh, you're not like a Federation soldier would be, I thought. And it just really, I understand they were trying to do a lot of work very quickly, and I can understand what they were trying to get to, but it feels like they cut out the entire middle ground. And I think the framing of Aina as a overt love interest from, about a minute in really
from the
damages her
second he
potential.
saw boobs, yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts about this, but mostly I think Aina's done a huge disservice by bouncing between being a love interest for Shiro and being, at least in the early onset, there's some really weird energy here between her and Gineas as well, which, okay, I have watched all of the Utena franchise at this point, and let me just say that this is really, there's some Akito Otori stuff going on here that is like really, really unfortunate in terms of like painting her as like a full person. I also think, John, I'm glad to have you on for this one because this is technically in the first half of Big O, but this made me think a lot about the episode of Big O where Roger and Angel are trapped in that air bubble in the sunken part of the city.
Yeah.
That episode has, and okay, I have to admit that like there's stuff going on between Roger and Angel before that. That's a longer show. That had different priorities for those two characters. But that had so much more juice because of the way that it slowed the fuck down. And I think if there had been more, I get that there's like a time limit in terms of the fact that they had oxygen, but like make something up. The show will bend itself into pretzels for stupider shit later on. They should have spent way more time trying to survive in this situation. I feel like that would have fixed a lot of the foregrounding for their relationship.
So it's hard for me to watch the show and not think of it as broken up into manga chapters, and this being the Meet Cute manga chapter having to be finished in one run is kind of loud. I do think like there's a lot of the realism in this show doesn't get spoken a lot. So Shiro is from side 2. Don't know if you guys remember what happened to side 2.
Well, we see it, so we'll have a reminder.
Just by the way, but Aina is also a space noid, and I feel like for people on the colonies, something that gets brought up in Gundam media a lot is, the preciousness of air in space outside of the colonies. You can just kind of get lost in space. There's so much fucking war debris out there now. But it doesn't do good to push that forward, mostly because half this episode is spent on Shiro doing the coolest shit you've ever seen in a ball in your life. We need to talk about the mechs. Hey, I'm here to talk about the mechs. I do want to weigh in.
I did watch this with subtitles, and I do think the voice actress's work, I understand why an English voice actress would feel the need to, like, turn it up to make this make sense. Like, part of your job as an actor is to like, okay, this is the script I have. Like, let's try to make this compelling. But I did like that the Japanese voice actress more imbued the performance with bafflement. I kept thinking of Enemy Mine. Like, I didn't read Romeo and Juliet until middle school, but I watched Enemy Mine very young because of who my mother is as a person. So I immediately was like, oh yeah, you're forced into a survival situation where you're one agent from both sides and you must simply collaborate because there is no better option. And of course, Enemy Mine is an incredible love story.
Sorry, to jump on the voice actor point. So I mentioned that Aina, her voice raises a pitch. It gets much more gentle. It's a lot more playful in the dub. And she does almost two different performances. There's the performance she does when Aina is in the presence of Shiro, and there's the performance she does when Aina is separate from Shiro. When she's separate from Shiro, aside from sometimes with Guineas, she's a lot more terse. She's a lot more blunt. She speaks in a lower register. She's almost an entirely different character. And it feels like you have the two characters, Aina with Shiro, Aina without Shiro. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because you've obviously, people change depending on who they are with. But I think they are so distinct in the dub, at least, that it feels like they're two characters that don't quite mesh.
Yeah.
I think the Japanese voice actress does that, but instead of it being between who she's with, it's over time. In the latter half of the show, she is going to dip into a much darker place a lot of the time. I really liked her voice acting performance.
Nothing.
Would you believe?
But yeah, no, I just wanted to talk about this because obviously this relationship frames the entire rest of the story. And I do think I was somewhat compelled because I do like stories of, I like the story of the Christmas truce during World War I. I like stories where people realize that they are ultimately people. And the closer in proximity you are to someone who is of your level, the further the gulf seems to be between your command. Like you and your command. You realize you have more in common with the grunt on this side, possibly than you do with someone else. And I did like that, on the one hand, I do think Shiro would have shot without hesitation if she hadn't been a woman, which is fucked in its own way. But also,
sometimes that's all it takes to stop being a fetty incel.
Hey, everyone should transition because you get a bonus against the enemy. I'm kidding. But I do like that, as far as in the scenes that I saw, it's what shakes her up is the fact that he patches her suit. What shakes her up is that he clearly wants to accept a surrender. And it seems very obvious. A theme we'll touch on again and again in the show is what people have been conditioned to expect from war and from other combatants. And especially in the last episode, that is so loud in terms of what is idealistic and what is realistic. And it seems like we meet Aina in a place of she's clearly been raised and trained to believe that we are only going to be realistic. There are no ideals. Whereas Shiro, his youth really comes out, one, in his incredible overconfidence. They never play the new type noise, but you really do get the feeling between dodged gunshots, excellent control of the ball, all the stuff. Shiro's got some new type juice maybe going on, but he's controlling the balls. Confident.
Me when I'm controlling the balls.
All right. He's so confident, and he's so confident also in his ability to extend mercy that it is startling. And I was actually legitimately charmed by the watch exchange, not just because I recently fixed my own watch, but just that feeling of okay, well, there's a necessity here, so I will loan you this. And it's such a weird little humanizing detail of for us to survive, we need to meet back at a certain time. And I liked the collaboration.
I like it on paper. I'm not sure the execution on screenwriting and story play worked.
All I can think about is how fucking awkward it would be to wear that watch under your normal suit.
It's
so fucking huge.
It's so big and pointy.
It's so huge and zombie. It's such a zombie Nazi watch.
It's so funny. It's so funny to me. He does not get called up on possibly being a spy the moment someone sees that timepiece. Hey, man,
he does get called up for being a spy later when they find out he was in an onsen with her.
If you're not in the beam saber onsen with the enemy, are you really a soldier?
If I had looked over and seen his ass using the fucking Wehrmacht memorial,
Yeah.
huge ass fucking Flava Flav timepiece necklace, I would have been like, hold on, where'd you get that, buddy?
One thing I do like in terms of the imagery and the pacing and stuff that happens with this and carries forward is the fact that the watch is meant to keep time with Guineas's medication, and the show will play with that in a way that I do think hits later on,
especially when Guineas stops tracking that. But yeah, I'm sorry, Alice, we have two things we need to touch on.
Well, we
real
have
quick.
three things actually.
We have so many items that have cropped up, but I want to say first thing, my first note is immediate slur drop. Take your sensitive ass back to the poetics of 0079. We in real robot territory now, bitch.
Oh my God, whatever.
It was so funny to me. I'm like, oh, we're saying slurs. People are playing cards. This is a different tone.
So our first two suits that we see are a RGM 79 early type, and a Zaku high mobility type. The high mobility type is a test for the Apsaris system. I don't know. They don't really do good at explaining why she's in low Earth orbit doing that.
Yeah.
And she has some Zaku IIs watching over her, whatever. Things that are cool about the early type GM. It has a different cut than the GM that we're going to see in Charmuro. It has more lines, but it's also fucked up. It's piloted by our guy, and
Sanders.
he has lost a majority of its limbs. And this is when we start to see that, hey, mobile suits are fucking cool and you can use them if they only have some limbs.
Yeah.
There's a real theme, I think, especially when Shiro first pilots on Earth in Earth gravity. I like the versatility of mobile suits in different environments. We'll see it later also with a specific fight in a river, partially, which is really cool. So
we get some of the small stuff, which is so this Fetty transport ship on there. Number one thing to be fearful of, being in a Federation ship in space. I would hate to be there. Terrible place to be. They're getting blown up by Zaku's all the time. Don't do it. But they pull it in the early type in, and they start to do some basic repairs on it to get it immobile enough to go back out for Shiro. But I like how they play with like the directions of space. Like when Mikhail is hanging onto the cockpit, he's like at an angle because space is whatever. Anyway, Sanders lost his whole team. That's probably nothing else. Let's talk about the ball type K.
Ball.
So the ball, as you all know from earlier Gundams, is a colony building assistance device that they shoved a giant 75mm cannon on top of.
It's so funny.
To
it's
fight
like a big
Zaku's.
rig.
This one is more of a construction type, and it has guns that aren't even strong enough to punch a Zaku armor. And I think that's fucking neat.
I love the rocket-propelled winch.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
When you're really going to winch something at a distance and quickly.
This is kind of a microcosm of how I'm feeling mecha-wise throughout this whole OVA, right? Which is to say, like, I mean, in terms of the suits that I like, these are probably my favorite in the whole show, which is kind of dire. But we are constantly doing so much hype shit, and that is so creative and so imaginative and so compelling that I'm having such a hard time. I still don't know what my rating is. I'm literally dying. I don't know what to do.
We will determine it together. But does it help you if I say my note here in all caps says, I'm initiating ball hug maneuvers?
Yeah.
Hey, Jonathan, I just got back from testing the Zaku high mobility type that you trusted me with, and I got shot down. Unfortunately, I did get shot down by being wrapped up in a giant wire and hugged by a ball. Please don't make fun of me for this. I'm an ace pilot, I swear.
Do you think when because she ejected from the cockpit, you like to think maybe she had time to get the data disk out. Do you think she destroyed it so she wouldn't have to take back the fact she got ball hugged to death? She just got that floppy disk and went, nah.
I mean, when he's like, what happened to the Fetty pilot? And she's like, he's dead. Please don't ask what happened. Don't look at the black box. She's like so glad they lost that flight data that said got towed by a ball and shot in the face. I do want to say that this does, I feel like this is the inspiration for episode 4 of G-Quux.
Okay.
The witch with the wire. I'm just saying.
Oh,
okay.
Wait. No. I'm with you, actually.
I can
that
see
is
it.
probably,
I
that's
can
a
see it.
highlight of G-Quux, and I totally get you on that one. Yeah. Hey, Alice, I have a question.
Hey.
Are ensigns usually placed in command of entire teams?
I had the same question.
Great question. So the Federation basically follows modern military doctrine, which is an ensign of a pilot is a ranking officer. Being a pilot and being an ensign.
We talked about this in our Top Gun.
And technically, his actual rank is second lieutenant. He's an ensign because he's a pilot.
Okay.
But he is a second lieutenant. I mean, if we want to talk about just like one of the things that's really interesting about the Federation in the Xeon War of Independence and the War of Earth Aggression is that the Federation only has manpower and size and is just throwing things at a wall.
Yeah.
Like Sanders gets picked up by this transport and they're like, send him to Southeast Asia. He can be part of the 08th MS team. I don't care. They need a guy. It's like somebody has a giant spreadsheet of like available pilots, and he just dragged him down.
Literally, like that does feel like a piece with what's going on in terms of the assemblage. Can we go over the team? Should we go over
let's talk
characters?
About our guys.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. My favorite is Drunken Cowboy Oji-san. I don't know his name. He fucking rules. I'm obsessed with him.
He has the name that I was so afraid to say on air. His name. And I'm going to.
There it is. I just saw his surname.
Say it. Mm-hmm. Say it.
I'm going to enunciate at a level the listenership has never heard before. This is Card. And don't say it fast and don't say it sloppy. The way they kept saying it, I did. Listen, I'm from Alabama. They kept saying it, and my head went, whoa.
Can we just call him Prospector-san or something?
Yeah, this is Prospector Oji-san, okay?
The dog goes by his first name. They call him Jidan.
Oh, of course they do.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
They see that one coming a mile away and don't touch it.
Oh, yeah.
Couple, yeah. I just love him.
Hey, Shiro, Gundam Pro Tag ranking time, real quick. Let's just get it in. Better
Absolutely
than Judah, below Camille.
No. Mog by Judah. Judah punched Bright. Judah punched Bright. Judah punched Bright. You're never going to make me hate him.
Shiro abandoned the principles of the entire Federation and went off to live with his wife. So, Judah was still a part of the military-industrial complex.
If I have to take Shiro out his full arc, I would say, okay, Nico's going to hate me for this. I actually don't really know Nico's broad thoughts about Unicorn, but Nico's going to hate me for this. I would put Banniger probably slightly above Shiro because at least Banniger's a consistent person. Yeah. Shiro takes the dub in the end, but for the majority of the show, I am not buying it. I fucking hate this dude. He just takes L's and he's so annoying to me.
I love him.
Sorry, Banniger and Shiro have the same English voice actor in Steve Stanley.
Really?
Yes. It's so interesting.
He also plays Seabook in F91, but it's very weird to go from one to the other because it's the exact same guy, same voice, same acting style. He doesn't change it.
We're doing F91 right after this.
I will say that I think Gundam as a project gets way more interested in side characters as the time goes on.
Yes.
Protagonists are always positioned metatextually to be your most interesting character, but I do feel like as Gundam marches on, they're also accepted to be your vessel for whatever your ideology is that you're trying to center. So like that for me is Unicorn. It's like that character has to represent and react to those things. But I do, as opposed to characters who I think, like Camille, who has this very specific position on both himself and his position towards the war. And I mean, I prop Jude out mostly because I know not a perfect character, but I do like that he is a character who isn't necessarily just a vessel for a specific ideology. He comes from a place and a situation, and he is often wrong and positioned frictionally because of that. I don't know. I have affection for him in a way that I don't for later Gundam protags who literally just feel like they are there to be new types, basically.
Yeah, that's fair.
How do we feel about him having the only Asian name in the team?
I like it. I think it's good to...
It's very like Japanese sitcom actor coded. Like, it's the only haircut in the entire show I can see being a real man's hair, basically, and it always weirdly stood out to me. It's like I can
Are you
see
telling
it.
me Karen's hair is unrealistic in a jungle war zone to have that much volume?
With Elidor's gigantic, like 3 inches of bang elevation.
Elidor packed up and came here from Record of Lodos War, and I love that for him, actually.
Karen Joshua is unfortunately formerly married to a man. And I think we should all pay homage that we all thought she was lesbian.
Bisexual
and I still
women
think
exist.
she's lesbian.
Sorry. I don't believe in the gold star paradigm. Shout outs to bisexual women. She looked at Elidor and said, that's That's basically a femme.
The most devastating
that's-
romance in this entire show was seeing that romantic subplot form, and I was just gnashing my teeth and tearing my shirt.
Oh, you
through
saw it
every
form? When did
second
it
of
form?
In a few 4-second windows throughout the show.
Yeah. I have 2 notes on Compet, and it is number 1, Compet necessitated humane treatment of prisoners of war. Hey, don't know why you needed Compet to do that, but if you did, I'm glad you had it. And saxophone in anime is a Compet war crime.
That's true.
Anytime they deployed saxophone, it was to hurt me.
I'm mad that we never got to hear any of Elidor's music.
Yeah. I wanted to hear
We
his
did.
super poppy
Yeah, that
anthem.
insert
Did
song
we?
is implied to be his music.
The insert song
Oh!
is his music.
Okay. Never mind. I'm good then.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. I love Elidor. I think he's such a little dipshit. It's great.
Karen is cool because she was a former medical student. I love when we talk about what you did before the war. Her husband died because he listed officially as unnamed husband in the materials, by the way. I just want to put that down.
It's so good to get an unnamed husband. After the number of unnamed wives, woo, get out of here, boy. We don't know you.
But she has been with the 08th MS team. She's one of the 3 that have been there as part of it. And her entire arc is, I don't trust this guy from space. This fucking sucks. I should actually be in charge. But she does it in a great way. I really love her character throughout all of this.
I like that characters have fears. Like, it doesn't come up very much, but Elidor is claustrophobic. That's why he won't shut the hatch when he has to pilot the mobile suit the one time, is because he's claustrophobic, which is so funny because he works in a tank. Okay, my man. But like, I really like Karen Joshua getting to be the character of the jaded veteran, who, like, I mean, obviously she's still titted up, but like, she's doing a specific thing in a way that made me quite happy as someone who liked the character of the boss in Metal Gear, but like didn't love the way that she was deployed. You know, like, I love a female veteran who is like, I've been through too much shit. They've sent a plucky, I especially like, there's an early part here where Shiro gives a speech. And you expect it to be a, you know, hey, I'm the new commander. Here's sort of my command style. And what it is he's kind of almost impersonating a veteran in the sense that he's only focused on survival. And he gives this very mature speech. And the first thing she says is like, okay, you can talk the talk. Can you walk the walk? Basically. I love to have a woman in that role. It felt good for her to be the one.
Into the show is a very sort of she's already realized herself. It feels like her arc is almost done, which is quite nice and like ties into what you said about her being a veteran, established character.
A lot of what the show deals with is how people see this war and their interaction. Like, have you drank the juice of the Federation? And Karen is very much like, I am just a Fedi soldier at this point. Like, she's lost her personality. And Shiro's like, hey, what if we didn't kill prisoners of war? We could not do that.
You know what? That's a great read, because I think in the end, Shiro's also the one that kind of gives it back to her because she has to make that decision as to whether or not to carry out her orders, right?
I literally think if she had those same orders in the first half to shoot him for desertion, no hesitation.
Yeah, probably.
I agree.
I think you're right about what the show wants to say about, like, are you drinking the Federation juice? I think in these first six to 7 episodes, what's really bothering me is when we get complicated conflicts like what happens with Shiro and the gorillas. It doesn't ever fall across like ideological lines. We don't talk about the material circumstances of the villagers, really. We just kind of see it. Every single time we're talking about like enemy combatants having to come together in these contrivances, it is less about like how people are falling on sides of like what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, what side am I on, what side are they on? It is always like, does this girl want to fuck Shiro or not? And that pisses me off every single fucking time. And it's like such a thing that's like so weird, especially because, again, in these first 6 episodes, I hate Shiro so much.
Plus, if we want to talk about fuckable people, we can talk about Terry Sanders.
Best boy, my boy.
I love Terry Sanders. I am submitting my early vote for special little guy, Terry Sanders Jr. I love Terry Sanders. Sanders the Reaper. So this guy has been on how many squads at this point? The thing is, on his 3rd mission, his entire squad dies except him. That's his kind of thing that he's known for. And he legitimately feels cursed in a way that is very vulnerable. Again, if we're talking about subversions of archetypes, typically in this show, or in a show like this, we would see Sanders is Karen's character, the veteran who's seen too much of war. And Karen would be the one who's like, well, I think my teammates are always protecting me, maybe because I'm a woman and I keep surviving. Am I cursed? Instead, it's switched, right? Because like Karen gets to be this jaded veteran. And Sanders is the one who's like, I've been in conflict after conflict. He shot down 6 mobile suits. And as we know from 0080 War in the Pocket, you only have to shoot down 5 to become an ace. But he's not considered an ace because his squad keeps wiping. And like, I love his insecurity throughout this show. I love him as a big man of color who is presented as like not inherently aggressive. He gets in a couple of fights, but they're all provoked. They're all very much, people are literally saying to him, you are a death omen.
His emotional sensitivity, I feel, is really well realized because it's not exaggerated, but you see he's got this almost like kind of, it feels like iconic look where he's sort of staring off into the distance ahead of himself and tilting his head down. But you know, we see him playing the piano. There's the bit later on where he has to do, where he tells Shiro that he's been given the orders to supervise him, and you can see that he's really reticent about doing it, almost because he feels like he may upset Shiro. And there's this great relief as you see him slump into his chair when Shiro goes like, yeah, I figured they'd do something like that. I think he's, despite the fact he looks like a Dragon Ball Z character, like I really, really appreciate how sort of nuanced he is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also think he gets mirrored visually and kind of thematically by I forgot his name, but it's Genius's like assistant who pilots the Goof later on.
Yeah.
In a way that I think is like really fun.
Especially in terms of like a consummate fighter who like Norris has confidence, Sanders does not. And I really like, you know, on that note of relief, I do think it's funny because initially, you know, after the ball mission, you know, Sanders is saved by Shiro, who is younger than him and less experienced than him in the field. Again, in a typical narrative, there would be friction there because it's like, well, I have more experience and I'm, you know, a better, a pilot who's seen more. He is so relieved almost to hand responsibility to Shiro.
That's
like,
a
he
great
seems
point.
Genuinely grateful to call Shiro commander. He does not seem resentful.
I think I like that a lot too, because like one of the things we talked about yesterday, we recorded our first Cars Don't Fly episode, is how in a lot of media, there's like this fear of putting men in close proximity to each other unless they're in some kind of competition. And I love the way that this comes together, especially, I mean, and it's every male character on the team. Like they all have these like extremely high stakes emotional pitfalls that correspond to what's going on in the war. Mikkel's is whatever. We'll talk about that. But like, I think,
have you ever been 18 anyway?
I think they come together. Yeah. Hey, I would be insufferably distracted on a mission 2 if Bad Bunny broke up with me over snail mail.
We can't talk about BB like that. I do want to put it in here because I do have it in my notes, and it's critically important that I share this information with you because you'll never experience it.
Okay.
Terry Sanders is one of the few characters that we do see in a future installment of Gundam.
My boy?
He appears in the manga Mobile Suit Gundam 0083 Rebellion, which is the manga adaptation of Gundam 0083 Stardust Memory. He is an MS pilot in the Lhasa base in Africa. When the Albion stops there for supplies, he gets punched by Alpha A Bait, which is the blonde boy from the squad. And he gets... he sees the... I'm writing this down because this is from the dialogue. He sees the image of his former superior, Shiro, in the straightforward gaze of Ko Araki.
Okay.
and when he sees superiors hitting on Nina Purvelton at the bar, he interrupts. And that is his one other appearance in the series.
I was kind of comparing Ko and Shiro mostly just because like Ko... they're both L takers in a way that is like really reminiscent of each other. I don't know.
I feel I did feel that so 0083 and 8th MS team, they were quite close to each other in terms of production, and it really feels like there is a Ko element in Shiro, but also I think they give Shiro a bit actual more sort of he has something to fight for effectively. Like he starts off. And I will say that his convictions starts, although at the very beginning they made me roll my eyes a lot, I think they actually do a good job of keeping his convictions consistent in terms of how he explains them and his actions, and then later on they challenge them as well. Whilst Ko just kind of felt like he was getting thrown through it, whilst Shiro has a nice kind of like agency. It's not perfect, but it does feel like he's built
also,
on
Shiro
the basis
does
set by
eventually
Ko.
get like more than one W, and I don't think Ko ever wins anything. So there's like just that material reality.
Shiro's thing is funny that, I mean, it's underscored by Mikkel journaling. And like, I think it's 3 times Mikkel journals and goes, damn, I can't believe that guy died. And then like the next scene, or like 5 seconds later, somebody going, hey, he didn't die. And it's like, you imagine him having to go back and scribble out in his notebook.
Hey guys, we got to talk about the non-mechs of the team, which is the greatest thing ever added to Gundam, the hover
The
truck.
tank, the hover truck.
Yeah.
We've got to talk
I
about
do
the
love
hover
it.
truck.
In there,
I love
we
her.
have,
I would die for her.
We have Sonar Tech Corporal Elidor Massis. I like Massis because, okay, here's the thing. My very brave spouse's other partner came out while I was watching this, and one laughed at the when the title card plays, there's a real, the way they put it was like World War II hooray kind of fanfare music that plays when they drop the title card. They were like, yeah, that's surreal. We're going to go give it to the Huns kind of feeling of that music. And then like it cuts to what feels more like MASH. This is clearly set up as like a Vietnam inflected ground conflict, quagmire conflict, right? Which is going to muddle so much of what happens in this. We'll talk about it at the end. I have really conflicted feelings about the deployment of signifiers versus the statement of the text. But
I completely agree.
I like it as a note when you are considering a character like Elidor, who is someone who clearly, you really get the feeling he was conscripted. He wanted to be a musician. He has really cute hearing, which is something they rely on in him in the Sonar Tech, but he is consistently submitting his songs to contests, trying to find his big break so he can leave the war. And I like that as a character note, especially if you're going to give it these Vietnam trappings, because of the unwillingness of so many people who were sent. I do like that. And you get a little bit of it with Mikkel, but like Mikkel just, he's so young.
Mikkel's great for refusing any and all character development. he doesn't go for a single opportunity. He never changes. He stays the same. It's absolutely fantastic. And the thing is,
he tried for one in episode 12, but his character development was just drinking. That doesn't count as a character
and that
change,
felt
buddy.
like a very performative drinking as well, because it starts with his narration, so it kind of felt like he's like, well, I'm a gritty post-war journalist now. I've got to be glugging, whiskey on this raft, and then he just gets told off for it. But anytime he does seem like he's advancing as a character, someone is there to shoot him down. And my favorite example of this is towards the very end, where he's escorting Commander Kojima. And he's driving the truck and he keeps giving like Kojima the side eye, and then he speaks to Kojima, and Kojima tells him to shut up and get on with it. So it feels like no one wants to let this boy develop into anything.
I like he tries to have a moment when he and Elidor are in prison, or they kept in that pantry, where he's like calling out all of Elidor's like character faux pas, which is really funny because he has all of the exact same ones. And I love his relationship with Elidor. I love the comedy beats they have together. I love beating each other up and then walking through the weirdest drawn Cabbage Patch I've ever seen. And I think Mikkel's just, I was going to say Mikkel for special little guy, but I can see Sanders for sure.
Sanders earned it. Sanders suffered on the cross to become special little guy. Let's talk about the girl. As the only one we really get a name for is like Kiki. And then her dad is kind of the other character.
Gonna say right here,
him.
right at the top, Kiki, canonically 17 years old. I will cease all statements about Kiki from this point.
There is a very funny statement that Shiro makes, which is, it's fine to look at naked children as long as they're pretty.
What?
We don't ever revisit
wait, does he
that,
really
but
say that?
Well, basically, he's watching her, and she calls him out. Well, first of all, your first reaction to a man creeping on you should always be to open fire. Second of all, she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why were you just looking at me? And he goes, I was looking at you because you're pretty. And it's like,
oh yeah.
But then later on, Shiro tries to shut her down by saying, you're just a kid. And she's like, well, if I'm just a kid, why are you looking? And I was just turning in on myself.
It never comes up again, and it's like, it shouldn't have been there in the first place. But we have to introduce, how do you introduce the Viet Cong soldier? Well, tit?
Well, the other thing is as well, sorry, like I've got some very critical notes of, I think I call him a reprehensible horn dog in one of my notes, because in the Time Limit on Trust episode, he sees the little, pond that she'd been bathing in. And then he's like, I wonder if that girl's here. And I'm like, I can't believe that's your first thought, my man. Like, it almost feels like he takes that mission because he's like,
so paid.
You're on a mission. There are enemy combatants.
Yeah, exactly. And then he goes, he's like, wonder if there's any more naked babes here. And it's like, Shiro, please, stop.
He should have died of dysentery for drinking untreated water from a stream.
The leeches tried, but there weren't enough.
This whole sequence really added to me, and this is maybe me being poisoned, because the thing that I kept thinking about here is there is a scene at the very beginning of Turn A Gundam. By the way, I'm watching Turn A Gundam on my own time.
Mazel tov.
Where there is a space noid being charmed by Earth on a river scene, and it involves naked ladies, but it hits so much cleaner and so much better than this in a way that is like unbelievable. Like, how do you manage to straddle that line? I don't know, but Tomino managed to do it in a way that this show just absolutely fell. It was so rancid. I could not believe my fucking eyes sometimes.
And she will be the face of the gorillas for the entirety of the series. She is kind of the voice of these gorillas who are rancid, terrible people.
Hey, I don't know. I think that they're an occupied force who is fighting back against military occupation. Also, the other thing is, all of her like friends are giving Judao's friends in a way that is like really fun to me. I love that little echo.
The boy in the trench coat and the baseball cap is one of my favorite.
Yes, love him.
gorillas.
Love
and
him.
There's also
Yeah.
a guy wearing is he wearing waders and a vest? But you never.
It's like overalls that are too big for him or something. Yeah, I don't know what he's going
Background
on.
character design really good in this show for no reason, just to flex. I love. The gorillas are complicated. Well, it's not I love. The gorillas are complicated because, again, we have muddled signifiers, right? There's a real feeling, the way that the gorillas talk about Zeon is like an occupying force. There's a real kind of invocation of occupied France during World War II. Like, they are resistance fighters. They are being occupied by a Nazi-coded... Well, no, but they are being occupied by a Nazi-coded external force. But the signifiers applied to it are of Vietnam. And
like Vietnam.
There's a complicated... There's a lot of historiography to get into between the Sino-Vietnamese relationship during the conflict with North Vietnam and the unification of Vietnam. The Viet Cong and Ho Chi Minh were fighting such a different war than World War II with America. That is such a different conflict with such different valences, with such and the fact that those things are kind of muddled together here, that we're seeing villagers wearing the iconic kind of conical hats of Vietnamese civilians, but we're being presented with Sig Zeon and we're being presented with, it makes a real mess out of this in a way that makes it...
I think it could be kind of a... Again, if, and I don't know, this is going to wrestle with the OVA format. If given a little bit more room to breathe and a little bit more of a deft hand, I think this could actually be some cool, narrative... juxtaposing. But one of the things we talked about in the Unicorn episode is how sometimes it feels like Gundam is just going to shrug and say that the Federation is the good guys in a way that doesn't hit at all. And for the first, 70% of this show, that's what's happening here. I mean, the Federation are just unequivocally liberating these people, and we don't get the turncoat, this is what the Federation is up to until the very end. And it's nobody is discussing the material conditions of what the Federation is going to do when it's in control of these villages, and we know what it is.
In general, for me, this Zeon that we see in 8th MS Team feels very different from the Zeon in 0080 and 0083. Because in 0070, so I feel this is the 0079 Zeon. So for a start, it feels like they have dialed back on the World War II German visual influences. Like the Stahlhelms that we see we've gone back to goofy, big, ornate helmets. We have the secret mountain fortress. We have the super weapons. They have a big ornate ball where everyone's in their finery. So it feels much kind of like a more classical European imperialism rather than that kind of World War II imperialism. But then also, it does start getting really confused because the episode you mentioned where Elidor and Mikkel go to the bar, that's just Vichy France.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's got a wine cellar. The woman's name Maria. The architecture is very sort of
she's dressed in that way too.
Yeah. She's got that high collar neck and the poofy sleeves. So you've got this sort of World War II visuals, but then, like you said, Brian, you cut to their village and it's like a sort of Vietnamese rural farming village. And the thing is, we see Zeon as a much more kind of overt occupying force. They are occupying these villages. They are not letting anyone in and out. The Zeon base in episode 2 is said to be stopping access to a village. So we see Zeon have much more of a restrictive presence where they are dictating the sort of indigenous populations like right to travel and what they can get up to. And the Federation is there as a liberator, but then you do see later the Federation does not care about them either. It feels that they are sort of ancillary to the conflict and they are relevant when they need to be, because they obviously don't coordinate the mission. There's clearly no Federation outreach to these guerrillas until Shiro turns up.
They're not dropping supplies until Shiro shows up.
After Shiro's inquiry, and they find out that the town has had these Zakus appear in it. There's no intent by Kojima to help them out until Shiro and the 8th MS team go and help them out. So it's a bit weird because as they set up the Universal Century, especially in 0079, the Federation is very sort of either allies in World War II or the UN of the 70s. That feels like what their signifiers are. So technically speaking, rightfully, depending on like what you make of the Gundam source material, they should be there, and that is their territory. But also, it doesn't seem like there's any sort of actual extension of the benefits of the Federation to that native population. So they almost do feel like an occupying force in the same way the Zeon is. And, Shiro says something when he's trying to negotiate getting free, basically. He says, the Zeon are our enemies as much as they're your enemies, which indicates the separate politics of these two factions.
That's exactly what I was getting at, yeah.
Presence feels as much of an occupying force as the Zeon, except we never actually see it happening. But it's the cultural distinction between them and the guerrillas that sets them up as like they shouldn't be here and they are here exclusively for the warfare.
I think there's a whole nother plot that could have happened if Zeon entered Earth as liberators of the common people.
I'm thinking about the Tuareg subplot.
Well, okay, yeah, but you referenced that. I think it's really important to remember that we are in 0079. We see Garma's funeral in an earlier episode. I also rankled at the one-sided Zeon dog-kicking, mustache-twirling aspect of it all, but that is knowing how America works right now, like that is the material reality of 0079. There are a lot of Giran guys who believe that people living on Earth are racially inferior, and that's like one of those kind of valences that isn't explicitly talked about, but that's what I think the show's trying to paint here is like they could have moved in as liberators of the common people, but these common people are Earthnoids, so why would they give a shit about them?
Very much a Wehrmacht versus SS. We meet Yuri, Rear Admiral Yuri, later, who is fleeing from Odessa, and he is very much a soldier's soldier who is just protecting his men, and he doesn't seem to want to like ruin the relationship with natives. He's just protecting his people versus a room full of Nazi scientists cheering at their new super weapon.
To evoke something we haven't quite covered yet, are you guys getting kind of Getter Robo hair or even Nadesico hairstyle vibes between Guineas and the black-haired Zeon guy? That was
the
weird
90s.
To me.
We're going into a specific character design era, which I love.
Anyway, the Federation would rather build another big tray battleship than feed people. Let's just talk that. Let's just talk about that.
That's true.
I do have to wonder, like, how much of this is translation and translation, right? Because, like, I don't know what the Japanese vibe was on Vietnam, right? I come from America. I have an idea of what the American vibe was, which is, like 50-50 conservatives, like we were failed in every way possible. We should have won. And then the other side, which was like, it was so part of this specific era of a change in public awareness of war and like what the American imperial project was. Yeah, Alice?
I just want to say I have insight to that, which is this was during the student protest era, which was really driven by, hey, can we rewrite our constitution to send troops to Vietnam? And that was a very big pain point.
It's such a wild thing because realistically, if you look back at the history of the Cold War, Vietnam is one of those conflicts where it's just like, this was America pushing capitalist hegemony to say, we cannot let any dominoes fall. We have to do this. We have to win this. And like, again, Ho Chi Minh, possibly one of the most valid motherfuckers in the world, like actually carrying it off. But like, America has this very specific perspective. It's multifaceted, but a very specific perspective on Vietnam that created things like MASH, which what I mean by a translation of a translation is then our cultural products about the Vietnam War from our perspective were then exported to Japan and other countries that didn't have that cultural perspective, but much like Kojima watching 80s action movies, suddenly become part of the lens through which you like talk about these conflicts. And so I wonder if that's part of the muddle here, is that like Japan as kind of a cultural consensus's major exposure was World War II. But then they've gotten cultural exports from America's Vietnam era that have clearly inflected the style and the characters of this show, but it's absent that specific American perspective. It's like second or third hand.
I think that's really supported by the visuals as well, because as you mentioned, you've got the World War II thing first. Like I said, the episode that takes place in Vichy, France, except because I'm like, how hard would it have been to get someone to go to Cambodia or Vietnam and see what the inside of a bar looked like? And they just went for the sort of quickest shorthand they had. And it does feel, and obviously, there was no direct Japanese involvement in Vietnam as far as I'm aware of. So
they sent advisors.
Okay, sorry.
I've actually been doing some looking while we were talking, and actually in June 1940, the puppet Vichy regime administrated in Indochina against Japanese aggression. And so like, I'm not saying this is like the visual language meant to reference that historiography, but I will say like specifically Vichy is invoked in some of this stuff I'm looking at. And I think that there's like a weird valence to, again, Unicorn is made after this by a wide margin, but there is a very heavy hand on the fact that the Federation sort of mollified all of the like. This is just a sci-fi phenomenon. All of the borders and nations of Earth were melted into this one big thing.
When we signed the charter,
when we signed the charter
at Laplace's place,
when we at Laplace's place, and we signed the charter. And don't worry about that big blank slot that clearly looks like there's another commandment there.
There's probably nothing there.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I was like, I wasn't like trying to be like, oh, are we wrong about this? I literally just Googled like Japanese response to Vietnam conflict.
Yeah, his like on the tail end of this. So like I'm kind of focused on the aesthetic side of it, because this period of anime, that sort of mid 80s to mid 90s, there was a lot of productions where they would just grab the nearest visual shorthand.
Yeah.
So, for example, something like Bubblegum Crisis really stands out to me because, it's basically the Terminator crossed with Iron Man. We'll throw some motorcycles in there. There was a lot of 0083 was Top Gun. So, they took a lot of visual indicators. So I think especially at this period, they take what they feel is necessary visually to do the work the quickest.
Well, you guys have all gone down the river of talking about Indochina and the Vietnamese problem. I've gone up this small river to go and get behind the enemy. And 1 second, there's somebody tapping on the outside of my actual Gundam cockpit. I think I'm just gonna grab my pistol and open that real quick.
Insane
Oh shit,
move.
there's a girl's crotch in my face.
Insane move to just open your
Every time he's left his cockpit so far, there has been a babe. So, fourth time's the charm, I think, at this point.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of
Me
true, isn't it?
constantly opening my cockpit in the OSG hangars like, I sure hope there aren't any women around here.
He's the rat in his Skinner box, except his Skinner box is a Gundam and the button gets women, so...
Fantastic statement. I do want to real quick just cover, because we were doing cast and then we got really sidetracked. I want to cover Zeon's side real quick. So we have Ina
Oh, we don't
Sahalan,
have to be
who we've
real
met.
quick. I could talk about her for hours.
Of course you could. She's a woman who's barely there.
I have a master compilation of every time she says Oni-chan.
Oh, God.
And I have that for personal reasons. Hey, when she said big brother, how did you all feel when you realized that he was her big brother after she was feeling him up?
I'm so poisoned by Utena consumption, and also just the fact that like they're in this like big castle and he looks like he could pick up a fencing saber at any moment. This was rancid.
My jaw clenched.
Yeah. There's so much invocation of this decadent European aristocracy vibe. Incest obviously is in that mix, right?
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
that's
there is
so true.
exactly right. This is Habsburg coded. I want to say that. Like, and it's so funny where they deploy it, because there have been a couple of shows where we see the decadent elites of the Federation, and there is like one visual language and one like cultural touchstone for that, which is basically just like European monarchy. Whenever they need elites, they like that's who they can think of until they start really getting into more of the Anaheim and the corporatocracy stuff. But like, this is a brother-sister relationship that I'm like, again, if it was slightly more rancid with Char and Sayla, we would have been here. I hate that it is here, but it makes sense that it is here. And also I need to say, anime conceptions of ball gowns are always so fucking whack. They're so awful every time
Never
you see
no
one.
notes.
That's a real Little Mermaid grade ball gown.
Ina, as a character in a Gundam franchise, plays a lot of kind of cyber new type energies, put her in the mobile weapon kind of vibes. We have to first off, we need to stop putting cute girls into mobile weapons. They die 100% of the time.
Yeah,
No,
that's just mech the
wrong,
genre.
incorrect. We just need to stop killing them. Put them in the machine.
Small visual play where we learn that her and her brother are part of a family that was so close to the aristocracy in Side 3 that they could see the stupid zombie palace from their backyard in one scene, which kind of just plays to that, how does he get away with it? But also, they draw Ina in the fashion of the 90s in a way that is so loud.
When I saw that sweater tied across her shoulders, I said, ma'am, you can't be directing an evacuation in that fit. You look like you're about to go play tennis.
Every outfit, Princess Diana outfit. I'm deadly serious here.
No! Yes, you are correct.
Yes.
Fuck
I
you for
literally have
pointing
that
it
note.
out.
You're 100%
Thank
true.
you.
I
Also,
had that realization half an hour before recording. I was furiously Google image searching to see if I was correct.
The way she's helping the injured and the sick and showing this care, whereas her brother is like, who gives a shit about the common soldier? I'm building a Xeon super weapon.
Yeah, Ina's out here trying to, like, enhance the care at AIDS clinics and fucking genius.
She's probably got something to say
is
about
out here like-
landmines,
Yeah,
The real people's princess, Ina Sahalin.
She's great. I literally have no notes except for every single time she almost gets out of her brother's grip, he does the most insane thing. And so she really needs to stop testing him and just go with the flow. Win the war, then tell him that he shouldn't do that.
There's a really funny moment where he's doing like a villain monologue and then like has an anime blood injury moment where he like coughs up blood and like lays on the ground and she just steps over him. And I'm like, I wish this was more consistent as a note for her character.
It's because he's got the mental illness that makes you cough up blood.
Yeah, that's true.
I like that moment because I think she has a really I think one of the things that is successful with her is she has, to me, a gradual I am becoming completely over your bullshit thing with her brother that by the end saves their relationship in terms of being this gross incestuous thing from me. I do think she's man, I think she's incredibly stupid sometimes in a way that is like so wild.
What?
Like so wild.
Again, I think that this is a consequence of the fact that like when the Gundam writers room has a woman, sometimes when they need something irrational to happen, they're just like, who would do that? A woman.
I mean, I can't say it enough that they infantilize her in a way that is very painful in this show for me, and I really do hate. Anyway, here's her brother. He got cosmic radiation at 12 when he was in space.
Straight up Jonathan Glenn.
The reason he's so ill is because they have genetically combined a Shah and a Gamma, and they cannot exist in the same space.
That's also incest. That's also incest.
If it was meant to be, Char could have gotten pregnant. We all know this.
Wait, do you know about Mpreg Char, Nico?
I know about Impreg Char, and I actually got to tell my very brave spouse about it.
Okay, got it.
Genius is that crazy Nazi scientist who only wants to make his MacGuffin and is using Xeon to do it. That's kind of the main thing. Hey, we get it, Nazi scientist.
Also kind of a pharaoh who
say,
buries the architects in the pyramid, which is fun. Anyway.
2 points about him. Number one, that is the most insane computer setup I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
It's nice that they're still using DirectX in 0079.
2, what was the plan with this thing? What was his real final goal? That thing is so easy to shoot.
What he was trying to do, he was trying to do a Char. Okay, and double check me here, John. My understanding is he was trying to do a Char without having to fuck with space gravity and asteroids. And he was trying to specifically target the leadership centers to end the war
Charmuro.
like this and a decapitation strike.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant he was charting the zombies like Char. Sorry, you're right. Yeah.
I thought there was something here that raised my eyebrow because Genius himself never states or confirms, I think, what the Apsilus is for. We see the simulation run by the Federation on their big
by the way.
and they state this Apsilus could get into orbit, go past our patrol fleets, land over Jaburo, and then just like beam it out of existence. But we never, I don't think, hear that as the intended plot from Genius. And that kind of felt like, for me, at least, and that's to jump ahead a bit, that almost felt like a conceit by the, I think he's called something like Captain Ayers.
Oh, the bad guy, the Federation evilman?
Because we only see the Federation state what this thing can and could do. We never really see Xeon bring it up.
In the back, they do say that this is specifically designed to destroy Jaburo before Operation British in the supporting material. But we aren't seeing that from the Xeon side. And we know he wasn't going to just use it for that.
No, Genius does say, I think either to Aina or somebody, he does say, like, you've ruined my dream of destroying Jaburo. He does say that at some point.
Well, but I also think it's worth mentioning. It's throwaway lines, but we're given the backstory that the Sahalan family has been disgraced. Their mother abandoned the children. Again, the ghost of Freud is haunting the second half of this, but whatever.
Would you say that mothers that women have stopped being mothers and their children have fallen into hell? Would you say that?
I know I was born in the 90s, but we got to abolish them. But no, what I was gonna say real quick is just that there is a real sense that, again, his plan is articulated sort of, but I could also see his plan being like, if you are a disgraced Xeon noble and you create the Death Star, they're gonna undisgrace you because they want the noble who has the Death Star. So I could see this both as we get revenge on Jaburo, but also Xeon has to take us back because I have this technology, which to me felt like it drove why he killed all the engineers.
I get it. That also kind of couches his whole thing with the womb thing, which we'll talk about later.
Again,
but, yeah.
We can talk about the womb.
That was my read, but yeah, Alice.
Just to kind of put it up front, because if you explore Gundam more than this, you're going to see 5 million stories that occur during the 1 year war. And I want to talk about Xeon landed on the planet about 7 months ago, built this base, and started developing this weapon. And this is one example of 5 million examples of them just industrializing and creating super weapons within the span of less than a year. And I just always am just baffled by this. By the way, the Federation's building an entire space fleet in Jaburo at this exact same time. And in the span of a year, we are going to have the most militarized society ever.
I don't think the show is giving it to us. I do think that this is heavy lifting on my part. But I like the idea that if you're fighting in space, so much of space is empty. Now, granted, we see that there's now a lot of debris, but so much of space is empty. If you want to find someone and they haven't deployed Minovsky particles, hypothetically, you could use heat signatures, you could use radio waves, you could use chatter. Earth is both small and extremely dense. And I do like the deployment of the concept of the jungle environment, which in warfare, we have this cultural memory of like, it's hot. There's hostile fauna. There's unnavigable flora. There are uncooperative villages. There are ways for shipments to get lost. There are ways for things to And like, if you're thinking about space, like the logistics of having something fall off a truck in space when you're having to spend X amount of fuel, you're having to deploy X number of expensive ships versus having something literally fall off a truck that may be from 1945 that's still kicking around America. I like the idea that throwing Xeon detachments onto the Earth, one, puts them in close proximity to the Federation, but also gives them more resources that aren't part of a logistics system space necessitates. Right?
Sure,
like,
yeah.
You are having to do things differently if you're managing resources in space than if you are on Earth, where, again, like, the grand tradition of things getting lost. You know, just the density, I like again, this is not something the show tells us, but I think it is part of the spice that makes this show compelling, is that when you're doing a ground assault, it's messy. We'll talk about it when we get to the fight in the abandoned city. But like, there's so much detritus on Earth. There's so much density of stuff on Earth. I like the idea of Xeon not even respecting Earthnoids, but using it because it is a useful place to do development. So that was just something I had a thought about.
There's one other guy we got to talk about on the Xeon side, but that's in part 2. Let's talk about the mechs. So we can talk about this first battle. Hey, this is kind of where I think a lot of people love this. Our first battle is between them and 2 Zakus in a fucking jungle. And the weight that this at night.
Unfair advantage. Why is their shit green? It makes me laugh so hard because this, and again, like my first one was War in the Pocket, I kept thinking that the Zaku made more sense in the evergreen forest on that side than anything. I'm like, why don't we have, I mean, we do later, the GM sniper is green, but I'm like, really? No one even painted these camo?
So let's talk about the 08th MS team. Our main team. So the 08th MS team uses the RX-79G Gundam ground type. This is different than the GM ground types that the 7 other teams use. There's technically 12 teams in the Southeast Theater. All of you know this from reading all of the books that I read. There are 20 of these ground types. Thanks for asking. These were I'm dumping Gundam facts on you because I'm so into these fucking Gundams. So the Gundam ground types were developed because they could not wait for the data from the RX-78 to be returned. So these were made with spare parts and alternate parts for the original Gundam RX-78. That's why the quality is kind of disparate and around, but the heads have a very distinct Gundam shape. Because there's a variance in parts in them, this does have a limiter in it. Because some parts might burn out the other parts. This is where you get Shiro using the max override, in which he unlocks all of the parts to their full Gundam potential, making this as powerful, if not more powerful on ground, than the RX-78. I think that that's worth talking about. They took the Vulcan cannons out of the head of the Gundam and put it into the chest, where it now has like a modular weapon system with flares and shit. It has the little pop-up canopy top that we don't see used in Gundam other than in this series, if I recall correctly. I fucking love these guys. Everything about them is, this is a tank designed for war.
Yeah.
It's mounting points, the gears in it. We get so much porn of them just ripping open these things, getting caught in them. There's a scene where they fucking take a giant loofah and clean out the gun barrel on the machine gun.
It's got like a gun cleaning kit, but it's scaled up to mobile suit size.
So good. That's my whole job during the 1 year war.
It is. Yeah, that's
that guy.
Nico's just looks like a little borrower.
Yes. Oh my god, yes, that's such a
I'm
good
the
pull.
borrower who cleans your RX-79.
This is what I'm having such a hard time with, right? Because like they do so much cool stuff with with the scene where Elidor, like where Karen's gotten her head ripped off and doesn't have any sensors, and Elidor has to climb up onto her gun and be her eyes and ears. That shit goes so crazy. But on the other hand, like we talked about Metal Gear Ray in Metal Gear Solid 2, and I was briefly swayed by my co-hosts being haters. About how like the oversaturation of Metal Gear Ray kind of reduces the narrative importance of it. I think the counterbalance there is that Metal Gear fucking rocks and Gundams are boring to me, and this kind of washes out already what's going on with what I don't like about Gundams just in general. And so like they're kind of an eyesore generally in a way that it just like it didn't hit a lot of the time.
I think it's just such a good visual language to have it be a Gundam that's not a Gundam. Like, trying to tell a story that isn't Gundam focused in the Gundam universe, you still have to have a Gundam because people are going to point to the Gundam. But I'm like so in on GMs that it's hard for me to not like. But every time they use one of the stupid little shields to dig out a hole and bury a mech, they bunker down the fucking mechs. It's so cool.
It's really good. I do have a note in here. I took it was during the big famous fight, but I did write how sexually attracted to the GMs, and this is Alice. So I'm glad I'm getting a gauge on that.
I mean, the fact that, so thinking about like the milsim of it all, like they have the hover tank, which is actually just a giant truck carrying extra parts and ammunition for the mechs, which would be fucking giant. But then the mechs themselves are very purpose driven. Like they have 2 extra magazines on their hip plates that they use often. They have the hooks on the arm, which at first you're like, why do they have little gay little handles for gay sex? No, it's for giant cool ass parachutes with giant jump jets. And then just they have the backpack with the weapons, which is like included in every kit for this. And they actually designed so that you could fit all of the weapons in there. Like the RPG is like folded down, but things like that where they're just like actively doing warfare and moving material just makes this such a cool kit to me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they do just kind of stand next to a highway and shoot a bunch of Xeon bunkers up on a hill.
That's the problem with war, right? That's the fundamental problem with war. Some of the craziest engineering you've ever seen goes into it, and then what they do is they just sort of shoot at boring shit and cause problems.
So to kind of go over the fights in this part of Gundam, we have them assaulting the Xeon position. We meet the guerrillas. This fight's pretty cool. We have a Zaku cannon type that's just buried in a trench shooting down. We get some pretty cool missile shots. Something that I like in the 08th MS team is, so Karen pulls out a 6-shot rocket launcher, and you can count the shots. She uses 6, and they make painstaking efforts to make sure you know that they're using ammo that they have and not ammo they don't have. This assault's pretty cool. I like when Shiro crawls with the Gundam under a river,
that part
which is a cool thing you can do.
Like, yeah, I love that because it's like these parts, like Alice, if you're talking about, these are spare parts for the guy. Like, these are spare parts that would have been space proof. You know, like that would have been able to be pressurized.
Yeah.
I love the use of it. That is such a great way to use that.
So they're tanks. We always have to think of these as tanks in a modern warfare, and tanks are sealed for CBC or NBC attacks. Like, you don't want your pilot to get gassed. It's going to be airtight. You're going to have recirculation, right? But he jumps out with the boosters. That shit fucking owns. Rest in peace, that one Xeon soldier chick who's just running and is like, yeah! She gets blown up by a round.
Yeah, this just the thing about the river is, I think one thing the fights do really well is they ground themselves in a sense of place, and it doesn't just feel like set dressing. Like, that river does somehow feel really continuous from the river we saw. You know, we see it on a map. We know where it goes. Every environment that they have combat in, it does feel from shot to shot to shot, there's enough that you can really tell they've mapped out what's going on, especially in this first half of the show, I felt like.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of the action in the first half of the show was a little bit aimless in terms of like, it felt a little bit like, okay, we have to have a fight this episode because there's a war going on, and like there was a little like the place and like the animation and like some of the strategy going on was pretty cool, but until like later on, they kind of felt disjointed, and there was like it felt like a little bit loose to me in a way, but I did really like all the river stuff. I also really like there's a moment really early on where you see the Zaku standing up from the tree line that is like a shot for shot reference to the Zaku standing up at the very beginning of Gundam. I really liked that moment.
Just to jump on that, when they first meet Kojima and they're all wearing that uniform, like with the tightest white trousers imaginable and like the really snatched waist, I was like, wow, what is this uniform? Yeah. Especially compared to the rest of the cast who are all in like mismatched khakis and things like that.
Like, when you really put it up to, if the crew of the White Base ever had to get into the mud, they would be dressed like Kojima and saying air conditioning sucks. Also, is that colony racism? to say that you hate air conditioning? Is that a microaggression
It might
against
be a
colony?
microaggression, but no, I do like, again, if we're touching on like the Vietnam stuff. I mean, everyone's actual engagement and action uniforms tend to be more practical than dress uniforms. But I do feel like throughout so much of Gundam before, especially the 0079 original run, we're seeing people in dress uniforms, and they're being used. Unlike normal suits, are as close as we get to the more practical combat engagement uniform, and I do like that we are seeing, like, when I was a kid, I loved Army Surplus, and I did own, like, the Vietnam outfit. I had the shirt and the BDUs, and, like, that Material 1, super breathable, comfortable, like, you know, it's one of those things. I do like that transition from, like, okay, we are technically in 0079, but you have to accommodate Earth conditions. That's a major theme in this.
To talk about the clothing just for 2 more seconds on this, which is first off, our boy is just dressing like a little cunt the whole time. I love our little musician, just like
Okay.
He's always getting a fit off.
Yeah.
But halfway through, we get my favorite outfit upgrade ever, which is they give them flak jackets in their fucking cockpits. And then they also get the coolest fucking helmets ever, which are references to Vietnam tankers. That's it. I just really like when they get their little green and orange cunty little vests. I think that's the best mid-season upgrade ever.
Ina L moment. When they're occupying the village so they can repair the Apsaras, she says she seems kind of annoyed that they're committing atrocities, and she basically says, I'm tired of looking at these horrors of war. I'm going to go back to my machine that caused all these horrors of war. Girl, you cannot be doing that. Stop this.
But you know what else
immediately.
we found in that village? Besides friendship? That's right. We found the MS-06V Zaku tank.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
The
Yes, we
inside
did.
of that cockpit is so well animated. And the bullets ricocheting around.
And the fact he doesn't close it, they really lean into this when they're breaking the monitors. Cockpits get so much play in this series. But yeah, throw it on a Magellan and give it little crane arms.
Crane arms! The crane arms are so sick. I love the crane arms.
I always hate this bottle episode.
He just spins the torso continuously, and there's that Xeon like armored truck or whatever is circling.
It's literally just attributed as armored vehicle and exists in no other property.
There are
Also,
no brain cells in that battle until
just stop
Karen
turning
appears.
for a second. They're very obviously matching your speed on that turn and shooting in there. Just stop turning.
Turn the
for
other
a
way,
second.
maybe? I don't know.
I legitimately, first time I watched it, thought he was going to die, and this was going to be the tragic death. Instead, he just goes and calls nurses fat.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
He's so rancid.
Oh, not before reaching the peak of 90s anime romance
Yep.
by showing a
that's what I was
little
about
bit
to
of
say.
vulnerability and then committing a small sex crime and then getting shipped off.
Just
to
grab
three
her tit.
episodes.
And then Karen blushed, and that doesn't seem like Karen to me. And I'm just going to live in that truth. We got to go to the desert, by the way. This part's cool. Did somebody bring the giant net gun to this recording, by the way?
I did,
The
yeah,
giant
don't worry.
mech-sized net gun that we all have. What do you think the purpose of that was before this mission?
Fishing?
Big fishing?
Fishing.
Big zam fishing?
Dealing
Big
with the
Zam fishing?
gorillas. Dealing with the gorillas because they tend to clump up. You just hit them with the net.
more swagless T-boy drone pilots. Also, please.
Oh my god. What if a letter fell over 20 feet to your right and you forgot to pilot the drone to bomb Lebanese children? You would get kicked out of the army so fast. No, I like this. They do a little of interplay, like, hey, water is precious out here, but also it's not ever a thing. Kiki is here and is bringing snacks because she's down for Shiro. But also, confirmation that all of these Gundams, and thus every mobile suit, has a giant SATA cable in its hand that can be plugged into any weapon to transfer power from the core. That's neat. And we're going to use that for these beam rifles that we have. Canon-wise, these are the only 2 beam rifles they have.
I like how it's got you can turn the power up or down, like at your at home, like water heater or something. I like to imagine there's just some Gundam pilot out there who the ground crew turned it down as a joke, and then he never found out. So his beam saber was doing nothing. His rifle was doing
It's
nothing.
bouncing off Zaku
Exactly.
too.
Yeah.
I love the touch where what they're doing is they're setting up an ambush at the Apsaris staging ground, and they recognize it as a staging ground because the Apsaris' laser has cut glass into the desert sand, which
So
is
cool.
so cool. That's
It's
so cool to me.
The shot where Karen is belaying down. First of all, she's belaying down on 1 foothold on this cable that Sanders is lowering her on, and then she knocks the butt of her gun into this glass, and is like, "Holy fucking shit, that rules!" I love
Just
that.
to take away the compliment I gave the show earlier. So let's say they're, let's say they're in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, somewhere like that. I can just about forgive the brief journey to Vichy, France. I looked on a map. I was like, where is the closest desert? You have to cross the Himalayas to
China.
get into China, don't you?
Yeah.
Is there
I
anything?
have a theory, and the show doesn't give
Yes,
us
Brian?
this. I'm doing a Nico. The show doesn't give us this, but I have a little headcanon, which is one of the things they say. I apologize. We just recorded on Unicorn, so it's just in my head. One of the things that Zinnerman says in my favorite conversation in Unicorn is that the desert has already reached Charmuro by that point. The Earth is dying. Desertification is a huge thing, and this may be a new desert.
I like the idea that we do have desert encroachment from across the Himalayas if we're dealing with situations like this.
My negative take on that is this is still the 1 year war, and Operation British happened 7 months ago. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Now,
Yeah. This whole arc is pretty neat. Number one, they didn't have an extra guy they could send out when one of their engineers got taken out, which will never not be funny to me. We don't got any other guys to send. You just gotta make do.
No one's died in space recently, so we don't have the spare pilots.
This is cool. We do see Aina do one good piloting maneuver, which is she realizes she's caught and that she's probably getting targeted, so she jumps up with the anti-grav device in a cool way. But we also get Shiro jumping on it and getting smushed against a wall in his unit, and this animation will never not make me love Gundam.
It's
I love
so good. It's
like
so good.
when you make
Really good.
something so big as a Gundam feel so small
Yeah.
and infantile and just easily manipulated, it's so good. So they fly to the Himalayas and have a little crash landing. And Shiro says, "I can smell the scent of a woman through 2 cockpits. I know she's here."
only after
So-
taking a terrible L in trying to deploy an emergency blanket and immediately just creating litter.
What is going on with the script and the smell of women? Because Elidor also says, "I smell women" at some point. I don't.
So when you're in the jungle, you're either a
No.
sweaty, gross dude or
No,
you're a woman
no.
who takes care of herself.
And
Oh,
that's
yeah,
defense.
okay.
These are the sweatiest characters in all of anime. By the
They
very
are.
end,
That's so true.
everyone is sweating. I mean, there may be some animes that is the point.
They
I
get a
haven't watched
whiff
them.
of women's secret invisible deodorant, and they're like, "My God."
I do want to say, I think that as far as the OSG canon is concerned, the sweatiest character in anime of all time is Char at the very end of CCA. But I
Yeah.
will relent on this particular subject.
So, we get to talk more about the mech of it all. They're contacting each other, and so he gets bleed through on his speakers, and he actively opens the connection by hitting a physical button. We get other physical things in the cockpit, like monitors getting destroyed, or there's a whole circuit breaker sequence that we could talk about, but there's a lot of like physically moving of things. We see a lot of pushing, like when Shiro is working on the foot gears of his unit, and Mikhail is busy lamenting the fact that he has no swag. He pushes down that pedal a little too much to turn the gear on. There's just a lot of physicality in these suits that I just really appreciate.
Yeah. And I mean, this is also something I was going to comment on it later when we did ratings, but we're seeing a tech in this that we have not seen anywhere else. And I get a little aggravated because it does seem like it's being introduced retroactively in a way that would have changed a lot of things in 0079 if that tech had been present. But we see automatic movement tech. We first see it when Shiro is asleep in the mobile suit with the top open
With the
as it
cockpit open.
walks itself home. And then there's another shot later where Norris is doing his like completely fucking dripped out, insane, swaggy.
Goof, come to me.
Yeah, like he summons the goof and they walk out together at the same pace. Like this automatic movement tech is so compelling, especially because like something we talked about with the 0079 compilation movies is the moments when the RX feels alive. And I like the idea, I like the visual of this automatic movement tech almost seeming to imbue a like aliveness to the unit separate from its pilot in a way that's almost haunted because it is automatically moving. But I also, again, like the fact that they're putting this here and claiming that it was here in 0079, I definitely feel like there were some places in earlier parts of the canon where this would have been a game changer. And obviously it can't exist. And we can hand wave that away. Like you said, Alice, these are made of spare parts. They're like unique. They're like in one. But again, we see it with the goof and everything. And I feel like it's so cool, but it also bugs me a
Well, to
little
be
bit.
fair, Amuro does use that auto movement in the end of the original series.
Oh, does
like
he? Okay,
it
I
does
forgot
exist.
that. I forgot
Yeah,
that. Okay.
That's how he
No
sets
worries.
it to move forward for that last part. Parts 2, episodes 7 through 12. In this series of episodes, directed by Umananosuke Ida and written by Hiroaki Kitajima, Shino is court-martialed and becomes disillusioned with the Federation. The Zeon forces plan to escape back to space, but Genius won't abandon his Zeon superweapon. Both sides do a little war crimes, and then there's a sick-as-hell city fight, and our two lovers end up stopping the Zeon superweapon. We get a Cap episode, and everyone lived happily ever after, except Genius. That fucker is dead.
It's generous to call that a Cap episode. I'll
that was a blindside episode. That was a oops, I've gotten T-boned by this episode. But yeah, so they're in the Himalayas. This is so funny to me because this is literally what Tomino does in Brain Powered. The protag ends up marooned in an icy forest with a love interest, and they have like this weird. And I guess this is just a general common trope again about like isolating love interests, especially in a place where they have to rely on each other because the physical conditions are so difficult. But yeah, there's a point where they create I do think it's funny that they create a hot spring by deploying a laser weapon into the water.
I love
think
how
that's just
Shiro
good
sits
craft.
in it with his hands over his eyes, like a 12-year-old boy blushing.
Hey,
Oh
Alice.
my fucking god.
Hey, Alice.
Yeah?
I
Hey.
see that you've stopped my horrifying mobile armor with just your mobile suit alone, and now it's broken. Let me hand you a paper clip and some binder clips and a loose screw, and you'll be able to get that thing running in no time.
But, like, there's no way that the parts in your giant mobile suit would work in my mobile suit. Certainly these aren't made by the same corporation.
Anaheim noises in the background.
I like when they turn down the laser and make themselves a little onsen so that he doesn't die. By the way, you shouldn't shock yourself if you have hypothermia
Yes.
with very hot water. You should start with lukewarm water
I
and
do
move
like
up.
that she says that though. She says
I
that. She's like, I
also
wish
love-
we had some water.
The Fetty emergency. Oh, okay. We do a lot of things with Minovsky particles and the jungle, obfuscating what either side is doing to the other in a way that is. The fog of war is the densest fog of war you have ever seen. The amounts of time we are flying DOP fighters looking for Aina, uncountable. But there's a 10-second scene where the Fetties show up and they are in the stupid little carrier that was on the white base, and they drop a GM ground type with his legs first, and it's never not so cute to me.
And then he gets
Yeah.
vaporized.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
As is
but
the fate
that's-
of every GM in this show. And Shiro looks at her really disapprovingly because they've
I
just.
thought we agreed to not kill people.
This
Fuck
is-
that guy.
They are so toxic. He wakes up and almost kills her from a trauma dream. She kills like 8 of his dudes, and he's just kind of like, Aina, don't do that.
You.
I mentioned this in my notes and to talk to Jonathan about it. This is the stupidest and straightest couple in all of Gundam, and every single time they do anything, it's so dumb.
In my notes, like I think I wrote something like this cements 8th MS team as the straightest Gundam.
More
'cause-
than Seed.
yeah,
which is wild.
Because at least then you had Kira and Athra and Zala, but in this, it's just the way that Shira and Aina, when they are in proximity with each other, they just become. It feels cruel to say brain dead, but almost totally different characters. And
It's too Romeo and Juliet for me. It's too stupid young kids in love for adults who have seen thousands die.
what I do really appreciate is, so they have this big talk about how, I didn't realize the other side could have good people. Who knew? And then this kind of does get like undercut a bit by Ina's actions of, like I said, vaporizing the GM as it appears. But then later, when Shiro's having his inquiry, he makes his sort of big impassioned speech about mutual humanity. And then one of the guards cracks up, and then everyone interrogating
all laugh at him.
For the fact that it's just a faceless Fetty who starts laughing first, and then they all laugh at this thought of, hey, I mean, to be fair, Shiro's saying, hey, I came from side 2, which bad news about what they did to side 2, but I think that there are good people on their side. And the Fetty's being like, this is a war for survival.
The fact that my
what
subs,
are you doing?
The fact that my subs literally said there are good people on both sides was like, I was just like, oh my.
Your POV, your boss calls you into a Zoom meeting, but the Zoom meeting is you're at a little shitty little little wall, and there's just giant screens of all of your bosses yelling at you.
That's what it felt like the one time I got put on a pip.
Federation budget well spent.
So while he's classic Gundam pilot, he is put into solitary, but solitary here just means, hey, hang out at the bar with your friends. We didn't talk about the 07th MS team, by the way.
Oh yeah,
They're just jerks.
Here's the 07th MS team. They use RGMC ground types, and they just fucking suck. Hope nothing happens to them in a tunnel.
R.I.P. those guys. I don't think they entirely deserve that.
You do feel they entirely deserve that?
No. I felt it was a little bit cruel to have the commanders send them into a tunnel and go, shame if anything happened to them, and then something does happen to them, just not as badly as he wanted to happen to them. I thought, oh, okay. Because to be fair, Sally from the team has such an impeccable design, they reuse it later for Top, who's piloting that Zaku. It's the exact same design, just in a slightly different outfit.
So we meet, in the episode 7, the Gorilla Village gets a visit from the 3 coolest Zakus you've ever seen in your life. So these are war-torn soldiers from Odessa.
The earring game on the Zeon Commander is crazy.
Oh, that's so good.
So they are, for the whole plot of 0079, this is the part where Zeon leaves Earth. And before this series, we didn't get, like, the breakdown of how this happened. Like, a lot of people got left behind, the remnants that will come up in multiple series. But, like, Makuve left from an HLV from Odessa, and he left so many people behind that these people are just, like, trying to escape. We have the new guy who is a Zeon essentialist, hates normies. We have the other 2 guys, guy who was a dad and has a heart, and Commander who just wants to get out of here.
We're talking about the Zeon, the Zaku pilots, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, one of these guys is Wayne Grove from Heat, just 100%. Word for word. Like,
He is.
I mean, I like the guy who's proudly hung his death flag in his cockpit for everyone to see.
Top is wearing the cuntiest little outfit ever, serving Butch. But they go to the village, and this is interesting to me. So, Top holds the Zaku hands up to show she's not gonna come to kill them.
Yeah.
This whole sequence with the Shiro is showing up and he's using hardwire for his communications. And as the Zakus walk through the rice fields, you see the impressions into the ground as they deal a lot with the lumbering of these machines under gravity in this part of the series. Best kill in the series, which is the shitty guy gets food thrown in his face because he tries to kidnap.
The cut to the guy with the RPG.
It's so good.
And then the fact that they don't show you inside the cockpit.
RPG launched directly into the Zaku cockpit.
It fucking
so
rules.
Good.
There's another scene that just hits so hard. It's Guinness's only W, which is when he finds out that the Apsaurus production line's been canceled, and he has his like Metal Gear ass in every age. It is the scientist who changed the face of war speech while repeatedly shooting the monitor. That was swag. I was like, this hits. It's so good.
So what I like about this half of the show is in the first half, I think the phrase you used, Nico, was mud and boots. And so we do get a very human perspective of, you have a lot of low angles looking up at the mobile suits. And then that extends to the Apsalus as well, because the Apsalus is obviously bigger again. So we get that low angle from the Gundam's perspective looking at
the scale of it. Yeah.
Apsalus, yeah. And, to the point where Karen actually does get run over by the mobile armor, which felt like a little bit of physical comedy for you there, but just to give you that
Honestly.
scale. But it never felt like we really saw the human cost. In this second half of the show, it feels like that is brought much more towards the fore. Like, we start seeing the incredibly tired, like, Admiral Yuri, when you see him in the episode where he's introduced, just really unpleasant guy. He's the extrovert who is bullying two introverts because he knows they won't say anything. But then here, he has this he has this about turn where you see him caring for his men, being realistic about what the conflict is, about when they should stand and fight, when they should run. Does he let off a nuke and call it a vaporization bomb? Maybe.
Yeah.
To be fair, Makuve set that bomb up when he left Odessa.
But you
Probably.
you see and then, you know, like you said, the Metal Gear scientist presumably shooting meth or something into all of the into the Xeon soldiers to keep them working on those production lines. But you see the cost on the village of human lives as well, because the fear in Top's eyes when she has this swarm of guerrillas charging at her with farming implements and everything.
Yes.
And then how that's turned with the anti-personnel weaponry, and it keeps going back and forth, and we keep seeing people beginning to suffer. And I think that really made the second half of the show hit much harder than the first half of the show.
Right, we start to see death in a real way.
We're seeing people begin to suffer, but we're also seeing what will become a major crux of the final conflict, which is the reduction of the enemy in everyone's eyes to just someone who wants to kill me. And I have to take action or else they're going to kill me, however they can.
I love that, because the other thing that's happening, and this is when Shiro becomes a character that I can actually that I buy, is Shiro takes the other angle, which is this enemy soldier is someone who wants to live. And I really, really like that juxtaposition. I also really, really like just in the mix here. There's the Wayne Grove death rocket launcher into the cockpit. There's also a rocket launcher directly into the taint of a Zaku that goes crazy hard too.
So they talk about it where it's like, oh, these are anti-tank weapons. You can't do anything. Hey, even a Zaku has a weak point, and it's its crotch.
Splice in here the hype footage from fucking Gaza of people just throwing like a Molotov into a tank. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Also, there's small things in this that kind of tell you a lot about the weapons, which is she's like, do you have enough for a jump? What does that mean? Fuel? Cool. Okay, they can jump now. I love the Zaku jump where it obliterates the house, but still gets hit by the rocket enough that it crashes.
Yeah.
There's just moments like that. We also have the 08th MS team is so far away with their beam weapons that they're using max magnification and it ain't working. Just small moments like that.
Like the house really feels like a moment where you see death and destruction as a byproduct of these machines, not even an active product. Because that guy trying to get out of there,
he was going to jump and blow them up anyway.
Well, he just wants to leave, but it feels like the degree of thrust maybe, I don't know, coming across too powerfully because it had a rocket shoved up it. It wasn't his intention. He clearly wasn't there to kill anyone. He was just trying to get away.
I think it's interesting that I don't think he had an intention with where his backblast was going. He was fearful. He had to get out of there. He's a scared rat trying to run.
It's that, like, it doesn't matter the fact that these people are literally living in sticks and thatch. Like, there's such a difference between, like, when
well, except for their leader. He lives in a pretty nice colonial estate. Wonder why that happened.
But when the female Zaku commander is laying on the ground, she is in a tank. She is in a machine that, like, yes, they have RPGs, they can fire at you forever or whatever. But hypothetically, she could have just crawled out of there, and the people chasing her with pitchforks wouldn't have had a lot to say in that situation, because you're in a tank. You're surrounded by metal. You're surrounded by alloys. They live in wood and thatch houses, and they only have, whatever. But there is this really well conveyed feeling that it doesn't matter what their actual power is. This is actually a center point of fascism characterizing its enemies. It does not matter how weak they actually are, they are going to kill you. And so, like, the reality of the situation is completely divorced from the response. the response is always going to be disproportionate, even if it's accidental.
I had that exact same note, and I also had the note that it's like when you, because we see that shot that John mentioned of her face when she's like actually feeling that fearful moment and she launches those anti-personnel weapons is going to come back a couple times for the rest of the show. I think this is a turning point. Like episode 8 is nonstop banger scenes. Like this is my favorite episode for sure, because the other thing that happens in this episode that I think is really, really cool and is going to point towards I think that this show kind of saves it at the end with the Federation being less of a sort of unquestioned good guy in the conflict, which is they have to use a fake blank order slip that Karen buys from Prospector Guy in order to mobilize and save the villagers, which like I was standing up, I was clapping. I love Shiro being like, no, I'm a Gundam protagonist, I will do this the way that I want to do it. And then he walks off and Karen's like, yeah, they're always like that, and just buys it from him anyway.
So I think, and at this point, we start seeing much more overt challenges to. So Shiro's got that kind of naive idealism that runs through the first 6 episodes. He runs into Aina, he wants to help her. Mm-hmm. He, when he's fighting the Zaku's early on, he doesn't use full auto. He'll shoot them with a few rounds and go, "Why are they still fighting?" It's like, gee, pal, I wonder. Then he makes his sort of impassioned speech to the Inquiry about, the mutual humanity of the Federation and Zeon, and gets laughed at. And in this scene, he tries to convince the villagers not to go through with it. They say, "No, we're here for revenge. They've just destroyed our boss's like antebellum mansion." And like and you see him like look really disappointed and shrug it off. But it feels like he does keep pushing against it. And I think that kind of actually in the first half, I was rolling my eyes whenever Shiro was doing it. In this, because you see him bring it up and try and fail, but he doesn't get too emotional about it. He does remain practical to an extent. Especially
he still pulls the trigger.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it lends a lot of weight to what he's trying to do. That early on, he gets Aina on side quickly. He gets the guerrillas on side quickly. The whole team's going, "Wow, gee, this guy's helping pull off a lot of things that I didn't think anyone could do." In this, he really gets pushed back. And I think that does lend a nice sort of, rather than just being like, this is the anime boy that will save everyone, he becomes, this is the anime boy that will try to save everyone, but does realize at points there are hard choices that he has to make.
Yeah, it hones his like the way that his like you said, he has sort of a solid and consistent reason for fighting throughout this, but this incident hones his personal ideals into something that will slowly push him towards like what ends up happening at the end, which is he retires to a pastoral cabin out in the middle of nowhere, which honestly, more Gundam pilots should retire to a pastoral cabin out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I like the point that you made about this is sharpening his ideals, because I think with someone like Camille, who unironically said the line like, "I don't fight people, I fight ideologies," or whatever the fuck. Like, we are seeing Shiro have his ideals, have them be tested, one successfully, like he successfully navigated the situation with Aina, and then unsuccessfully, like you said, in this situation, having them fail. It helps him make those ethics a stance, a considered position, one that he is willing to entrench himself in, as opposed to a naive belief, which I appreciate.
I've lost my note for this one, so I'm going to be a bit clumsy as I try to arrive at a point I can half remember. But it feels like a lot of what Shiro fights against is when people take action without morality. So I think it's a bit more complicated than just war bad, people good. But to go to the episode 8, the gorilla fires the rocket launcher as sort of revenge for the guy throwing Kiki. Like, he doesn't stop and consider what the consequences will be. Mm-hmm. Later on, when Aina is holding the big tray at gunpoint, it's Guineas then taking the opportunity to fire back. And at that point, the commander then just goes, "Okay, fire on the hospital ship." He doesn't need to do it. It's not an active threat. It is a war crime. But that in turn escalates things further because Aina's sort of forced to fight back almost. So it feels kind of like what Shiro is
Like it's not the most complicated message in the world, 'cause, you know, it is coming from a 1995 OVA, but it does feel a little bit better than what in the first half felt very much to be war bad, people good, you know, let's all try and survive. And then it comes into, you know, conflict is necessary, but it is then in turn escalated when people make these harsh emotional reactions without considering the consequences of their actions and acting on conflict for conflict's sake.
That's really cool, and I'm loving this discussion. Unfortunately, I did just encounter a Gao assault carrier while doing this paradrop, and you guys haven't jumped out yet. Fuck, oh shit, oh fuck, oh god,
Wait,
oh god.
Nico Gao, check in. Are you still a Gao hater, or?
I still think that most heavy carrier designs by Xeon look like they ate a bee. On the other hand, this was so hype that I forgive.
Yes.
We can kind of go through it briefly. This is a cool airdrop sequence. The fact that we are airdropping MSs, I cannot explain enough how fucking cool this is. If you've ever seen them drop a tank from the air, it's insane.
I love Titanfall
doing that
2.
times. Karen has every right to be fearful about what is happening because this is predisposed on two giant straps going to a booster pack that will activate 100 meters before the ground
And I
to
love that
soften your landing.
she's trying to do the Gundam Pro Tag thing. She's got the manual, and she's like, Jesus Christ, okay, every time somebody reads the manual, they're okay. Can I read this manual fast enough to be okay?
And we learned that her fear is a fear of heights. And now we know everybody's fears.
The actually answer is no, because guess what? There's an act guy under there and he rules. This is so hype.
The one-armed act guy is insane. Just fucking rips that head off, which gives us one of the coolest things, which is they just throw a GM head on that. And I think everyone will tell you that that's just something that's neat.
I just think they're neat.
But hey, this is cool. Unfortunately, we are going to have to, instead of, actually doing our original plan, we're just going to go into the most banger 2 episodes ever made for TV, if that's cool with you guys.
Yeah.
So we go to the city. First off, core booster jets. Love them. They're stupid. The core booster bombers used in this are the dumbest, ugliest things. The Federation has terrible plane design.
Speaking of terrible plane design, just real quick call back. The carrier that picks Aina up from the Himalayas, do you know what that's called? Because it's tits. It's a pair of tits. That is a pair of tits.
I do know that one, but I have to look up the list of them because it says a stupid name. It's the Dora.
Okay.
It's a version of the Dora. They also use Dodai 2s to carry the Apsalis, which is just neat for those who like the Dodai 2. Dodai 2 shout out. It existed in the 1 year war. So we've got to go to this city because we found the enemy base. But how are we going to assault it? It's in a giant mountain. Well, baby, we've got to bring out the RX-75 gun tank mass production type. What do you guys feel about mass-produced Gundam tank?
I love him so much. I will
I will cherish it.
That was a very cool design choice by the Federation.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it. Okay, we can just talk about the goof fight. Hey guys, if you've talked about 08 the mess team, you've talked about the goof custom flight.
Hold on. I'm sorry, I'm edging you on the goof fight.
Okay.
So
Miserable.
I had 2 notes before
Don't
this.
say that.
One, talking about the difference between Earthnoids and Spacenoids. I love the refrain of I'm getting you guys back into space from the Xeon Commander. There's a real feeling of homesickness. And I like that because like one of the things that CCA tries to insist on, which I feel like doesn't quite hit, is that all humans have some kind of relationship to the Earth. Like at their core, even if they're Spacenoids, all humans being from Earth, evolutionarily speaking, have some affection for the Earth, which I also don't think necessarily has to be true. And I like that that's reflected here because the guys are like, I just want to go home. And for them, going home is just getting off of Earth, which I love. The other thing I love is this is when we start seeing the evil Federation plot where they're like, hey, the Antarctic Treaty says we can't just fire nukes at people. But you know what's basically a nuke? A mobile suit with a nuclear reactor. We have plausible deniability if we sabotage it to explode. I wrote that whole note in caps and just said, good God, because that is some shady ass command. Oh, it's so good.
I'm going to be gripping your shoulder very tightly when I explain that to you as well, just in case you don't get my point.
Hey, everyone, please enjoy these dirty martinis. They're fine.
Oh wow! I'm just really glad that we're done with this project.
Yeah.
We haven't used it in a flight yet, but it's probably done, and you don't need any of us at all after this moment.
Me, the only
so yeah, we'll just cheer
sober
with you.
person at the engineering core, like, oh, I'm just gonna lay down.
I love the added touch too. He's not satisfied by poisoning them all to death. He also has to blow them up.
Again, he knew me, the only sober engineer in his department, just laid down and pretended to be dead. So that's belt and bracers.
I mostly want to know what the fuck was in that grenade, because that was an M67 frag grenade, and it explodes like it's C4. Insane. Finally, some milsim. We need to talk about the other new unit, which is the EZ-8. Hey guys, if you're going to talk about a mobile suit from this series, you're going to talk about the EZ-8. So they get the commander's suit back, and they basically just bolt giant armor plates to him.
Yep.
And he becomes yellow tinged. I love the EZ-8. I think this is one of the coolest like ways to reintroduce this mobile suit.
Yeah.
So this is the subplot that we get where the loyal family retainer from the Xeon side decides to go Rombo Rawl mode.
His name's Norris, by the way.
I know.
Please put some
Norris's
fucking honor
name.
on his
I
name.
know Norris's fucking name. He decides, he's like, oh, the young lady who my family has always served, like, has a light in her life that isn't just her brother. Actually, and
Jonathan
thinks of me as a father figure and has just told me this. I'm the most proud I've ever been. I am going to make sure she can leave the earth. I'm going to go out there, and my note on this fight, just to set it up before we talk about it, is the 08th MS team is in Gundam. Norris is an armored core. Norris is doing some different shit.
One thing you missed with Norris, if you didn't watch the dub, is that his voice actor is Michael McConaughey, who is the voice actor for Schwarzwald in the Big O dub.
Oh my god.
Ooh,
So that
yeah,
lends
that's my guy.
everything involving Norris, like a nice little extra layer as well.
yes.
That's my guy.
So Norris, so we get this very much downfall, crazed Nazi scientist in his bunker who has a nuke, extended warfare. We get a lot of cool porn of this just extended fight. The 08th MS team is protecting those gun tanks as they shell and move, which A++. Never keep your artillery in one place when they have wheels, guys. Let's go. Okay. And unfortunately, every time that they send out suits to try and destroy them so that they can launch their escape ship, they get got by the 08th MS team. So what do? You deploy the ace. What is the ace pilot? Thanks for asking. The one good goof.
It's so
Hey,
good.
Rombo Rawl's goof is good too. It just doesn't really have the screen time it deserved, okay?
This is no Zaku, boy. No Zaku.
The goof custom has a fucking minigun on its shield, and I'm gonna say it. The best use of the electric whip I have ever
Yes.
seen in a Gundam,
Yes.
because it fries his circuits. It's like, yeah, this is what it would do. It's so good.
This fucking thing is...
Let's just, to talk about it in broad strokes, I just want to talk about your hype moments from this fight. So he basically kills all the gun tanks and then gets got by playing the fucking objective.
He
which
executes them with a blade.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Insane.
I'm afraid I won't make that rendezvous because I'm found where I'm going to die. I am
The red flare
levitating.
cannot return. Fuck.
Listen, I'm that tweet that's like the therapist going, and we all like when the rightful king regains his throne, you know, blah blah blah. I'm just like, we all love when the loyal, extremely competent retainer just goes ape shit. Like, yeah, man, yeah.
So there's one part of this fight that I want to highlight specifically, which is when the EZ-8 boosts up and uses its backpack carrying frame to hit into a cooling tower and glide down it as he shoots every single gun. Number one, this is used in every Super Robot Wars as the EZ-8's super attack because it just looks so fucking cool. Number two, he misses all those shots,
Yeah,
and
he
it's
does.
never not funny.
Yep, he does.
And Norris does not even move. He doesn't step
does.
back. He just, you can see there's like they've animated like a look of disappointment on the goof by how they've angled its helmet and the eye. Such a
He's
great
really
job.
like, I have seen that you will kill me and surpass me as a samurai, but you are not yet there, child.
This is a call to action for our listenership. Can you please send me, Nico M. Edie's fan cams of Norris, please?
I would love a fan cam of Norris also, please. I know they exist.
So, Goof uses the Easy 8 as a shield in this, which I think is just really neat. How do you defeat beam weapons? Put their
The
ally in
shot
front of them.
composition here is fucking incredible too, because we don't even know that that's what happened. We're with Shiro in the cockpit and it's totally blacked out, and he's like, he is expecting to be shot because that's where he was last when his sensors went down. And then we cut to a wide shot where the Goof has grabbed the Easy 8 and is holding it hostage against the rest of the 08 MS team. It's unbelievable.
To talk about the putting life into these that you talked about earlier, Nico, when he does repower this, the way that it wakes up evokes a lot of other Gundam, but it's very like, that's not how a machine would wake up.
Yeah, it feels really good. The only thing I would say that undercuts this combat is when they are talking to each other. Norris realizes he's fighting Lady Ina's love interest, and it becomes dad versus boyfriend ultimate violence. That, to me, undermined the cooler conflict, which is one loyal retainer going apeshit to save like the entire household. But I understand why
both,
they kind of had to work it in.
Norris is Rambo Rowell if he was a different kind of daddy.
Yeah.
The official stance of the pod.
Yep. official stance.
Also, I'm free for both of them on Thursday. I have two hands. Also, just to shout it out real quick, there's a Dom in here. He doesn't do much, but I love him. Hi, Dom.
He does cool. It's a cool little like, hey, you just got done better. So this fight is just great. If you watch any part of Gundam ever, watch this fight. It's just neat. I just love this.
So this moment is, I think this moment is 90% of 8th MS team in the popular consciousness. And when I was coming to it, like I said earlier, I think I was coming to it from a kind of very negative place, because for about 10 years, all I've ever seen about 8th MS team is this fight scene. So for me as well, this is just kind of built up over the years. It's like, when people think 8th MS team, they think of this fight. When people think of 8th MS team, they think of this fight. When people talk about 8th MS team, they talk about this fight. And I know that 8th MS team does not quite have as much to say as a lot of other Gundam properties, but it really feels like that perception has done it a disservice. And even for me as a Gundam fan, as someone who'd watched it before, it got to the point where this fight scene kind of became all there was. But then watching it again with fresh eyes, having taken in the whole product, I have to say, it does rip. It is incredible. It's the entire promise of the show. The milsim, the boots on the ground, the quote unquote realism, the weighty action, the scale, the environmental interaction. This is like a final boss fight where everything the video game has shown you to date is here. And it is incredible. And I can understand why it is sort of the flagship moment of the entire OVA. So I think that's really softened my judgment of it, because if I was an outsider looking in and someone showed me this, I'd go like, yeah, okay, that does kick ass, because it does. And it's unfortunate that it's overshadowed a lot of what the rest of the show does well, but I think it is the epitome of what the show does well.
And it overshadows what makes it really cool in context, which is that up to this point, we've mostly seen guerrilla warfare, or like strikes, or like shooting at gun emplacements, or like fighting the Big Zam, but it's weirder. Like, there's been so many weirdly asymmetrical fights. There hasn't been like the ace, right?
That's a great point.
This is another funny place where the fact that War in the Pocket is my lens makes everything even crazier, because again, like, my first engagement with a fraught duel of mobile suits was that one from War in the Pocket, which is so low stakes in the context of everything. And that actually, I think, puts me in a more generous position with this, because not only is this just good and cool, it also is a thing where it's like, oh, and like, that was the most like amateur mobile suit duel. This is the most excellent mobile suit duel. Like, it really is really cool.
I want to put it up against the Jagan ace from the beginning of Unicorn, who we never meet, never see, but is an ace in his own right. Like, this has, it's just the sense of scale and how 08th MS team, ostensibly, we see very few actual mechs in this show. Like, quantity-wise, we're not seeing armies of GMs getting laid waste by the Castricia.
She can't keep getting away with it!
We are seeing, like, the 06th MS team keeps reappearing because they're in the theater, but it's like, They're just three guys. They're just over there.
We have missed the most important mech of this half of the show, though, which is the gigantic freight elevator in the mountain base.
Let's go! 45-degree elevators will never not be the coolest thing in the fucking world.
We need more of them. We've got to get more of them going.
So to kind of go through this ending fight, which is just, hey, I have a nuke, and I'm going to press the button on the nuke unless you let me evacuate my medic ship. Okay, I hope your brother doesn't do anything crazy and kill a bunch of us with the coolest weapon laser ever.
Okay, just... We got the goof. We got some of the best. I mean, the goof is one of the best mobile suits of all time. That's just an unassailable design. Then we get the shot of the completed Upstars, which looks a little bit different. It's like floating around. For a second here, it kind of looks okay to me. And then it unfolds those fucking legs.
And the worst bit is they use the same musical sting when the Norris fight really kicks off. But when it unfolds the legs, I was like, you can't trick me. You can't make me think
do
this is cool. That's not what this music is for.
So realistically, guys, what are those giant balls supposed to do?
Who
thought
knows?
This was a good idea? Why is it standing when it can float?
Why is this your magnum opus, you dumb sack of shit?
Why is it full of evil gas?
Yeah.
But you know what? We've got to deploy something to fight this, and we've got to deploy the second coolest mech in this entire series. That's right, the GM Sniper 1. Look at him. He's just a little guy.
Alice moments.
Okay, the GM Sniper 2 remains one of the greatest GM variants ever, and this one is just good. Hey, what if you just had a giant beam rifle? They do a cool part where one on the big tray is hooked up to a shit ton of coolant, because, hey, beam weapons
so it
at
can
this
fire
time
more
are imperfect.
continuously. That actually does go unbelievably hard, I have to say. That's
I realize
crazy.
John has not had access to that channel the whole time, so I moved it into the guest area so you can
we've got
see.
a channel I've been posting shit in, sorry.
Yep, there you go. You can actually see it now.
Sorry about that, John.
Oh, hell yeah.
I've just been posting shit from this and referencing it.
This is the
GM
War
Sniper 2
Crime
is
mobile
cool.
suit, though.
Yeah, this is literally the I need you to go do a war crime. This is when we get the Federation kind of disenfranchisement of I am a soldier man versus I am winning the war man. I don't know, it's cool, but this fight just sucks. Literally, it just stands there, shoots a laser, then a GM Sniper comes up behind it and is like, I'm gonna blast you. And Shiro says, I'm gonna tackle you before you can shoot the Doom laser. There is a cool shot where she shoots the laser just to scare him and takes out half of a fucking mountain.
That's pretty
like,
cool.
I can do this anytime.
Circle. I loved that part where she's like, okay, you don't cross this. This is where we revisit our themes, right? Because they literally have somebody say it out loud. They're like, oh my God, no one's hands are clean or whatever, whatever. But, and there does feel like there's an element of truth in the idea that at a certain level of command, of simultaneous power over and distance from combat and the enemy, you make horrific decisions because it stops being real to you. Especially those at any rank who've accepted the idea that the enemy is incapable of humanity, and only idealists believe that anything short of total annihilation of the enemy can end the war. And that's actually something we see because we mentioned it before. Both Sanders and Karen have been assigned from the court-martial to execute Shiro if he does any horseshit like what he does, which is he tries to resign in the middle of combat to go save his girlfriend. And Karen gets a target lock. She's going to kill him. She's not, but she is the most serious about actually executing this. And she is the one who articulates this idea of she firmly believes that there is no humanity in the enemy, even though in this scene, what we're seeing is Aina do everything in her power to try to wield diplomacy to de-escalate this situation. And you get to see the difference between Karen, who will stand down from the target lock and go, okay, I choose to believe in you, versus the commander, Yuri, who's just well, we'll play with them. We'll just kind of do whatever is convenient. There's no actual humanity here for us to... I'm just saying, Aina thought she was going to break the cycle of violence, but it failed, and you should have taken the shot.
I agree. I also think this is one of those things that comes up in Gundam a couple times in the future too, like particularly in Unicorn. I think of Marita's conversation with Manager, where she says like justice doesn't save lives, kindness doesn't save lives. Like you can't fix the cycle of violence by having the bigger weapon and putting your finger over the button with a threat. You can't. It doesn't work. And I like that part of like why this goes wrong.
Well, even the awful commander says a truce at gunpoint is not a truce.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we need to talk about, first off, we didn't talk about it earlier, but the EZ-8 ripped off his dead arm and used it as a weapon in the goof fight, which is pretty neat. Also takes a laser pretty fucking close to the chest and opens up the cockpit. Love this little scene. That's just great. This final shot where he just gets up into the fucking mega particle cannon and the entire EZ-8 is evaporated, including his right leg. That's Gundam, baby.
Leading into that, you've got he's operating the pedals, and Aina is operating the remaining arm. So Aina is the one who controls the EZ-8 to the degree that they turn Guineas into paste. She puts the fist right through the cockpit.
And I think relevant to this sequence is what we saw before, which is when Aina has drawn the circle, and then Guineas is doing war crimes, and she's so over him, and she
with a laptop, by the way.
She says the line. Sorry, I've got fussy puppies outside. She says the fucking line because he says, Mom abandoned us, and she's like, I finally understand why you built this womb for yourself. Why you're weird about me. Your mom abandoned you. And my note here just says, when I get to hell, Sigmund Freud better already be running. I'm just like, I'm so over it. It's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Did you guys see Markiplier's film Iron Womb?
I did in fact see Iron Womb.
So they tackle it. It crashes into the evil Xeon base. We get, they kind of hand wave what happens here, which is the 08th MS team is disbanded. Its members sent to other stations, and they never find him, but they do find that at some point somebody was living in the base out of a tent, and they buried some guy under a Christian cross. I'm just going to say God probably wasn't down with what Guineas was doing. I don't think he's getting into heaven.
I know about the Old Testament.
But then, hey guys, let's just... Oh, first off, before we go into the Cap episode, which is a real Cap episode, I do want to show you a picture from the manga adaptation of this that does some weird stuff. Here is the Apsaris with a booster to get to space.
Wait, hold on. No, wait, this is a uterus. Hold on.
That's
I'm
a
gone.
Final Fantasy
I'm gone.
VII boss.
Yeah.
Well, those Final Fantasy VII designs were based on mobile suits, so that makes sense. But I'm pogging, but on the other hand, this looks more like a uterus than it used to, and I don't know. I
hate how well this thing gets drawn for how fucking stupid it is sometimes. Also, this appears as a completed device in the game series Gihren's Greed. Which is just a fun little alt history take on this entire universe. That's it. Let's go into the Cap episode. Hey, guys.
Nope. Let's talk about the ending. What I thought, again. So here's the thing. Here's just a little bit of background. On these discs that Brian directed me to locate in a Crash Xeon ship, there was one episode that was like the battle in 3 dimensions. And I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't think this is relevant to what we're covering, so I'm going to skip this. So they literally put the words "the end" on the screen at the end of episode 11. Yeah. And then another thing starts playing, and my brain immediately goes, oh, this must be like another thing. Like, this is just like another bonus thing. And I quickly realized that is not the case, but it is so funny that, like, they made an ending to the show. And the note I have here is, like, this is kind of the closest they've gotten to Het Charmuro in the sense that they come from opposing sides. They have things that they care for on both sides mostly, but they see the leadership of both erode and fail them, and they become disillusioned. With their final sacrifice, they prevent a doomsday of a kind, but cannot live in the world they created. Like, the character writing is mostly working. I don't love Shiro and Aina as individuals, but I can understand them loving each other, and their love endears them to me, sort of. The ending is both sad and bittersweet and a little bit ambiguous, and then they drop this on us.
Yeah.
And I feel 50-50 about this ep, where half of it goes a little bit crazy in terms of the implications, and then the other half of it is such a wet fart that I'm just Anyway, Alice, please proceed. I just wanted to touch on that briefly. That I thought there was an ending. To such a degree, I thought I was watching a bonus feature.
Yeah, I did not need this last episode, but let's. I have 4 notes on this last episode, but we can get into it.
Hey, what was Flanagan doing with those kids?
I had to
Injecting them.
Nothing nefarious.
Interesting. We can just do this real quick. Were they actually ghosts?
No.
Oh, I don't.
We had the Swan, and the Swan, I think, is
Yes.
the shorthand for new type in 0079.
Yeah,
It's
Lala Sune's here.
It's a Lala reference, like explicitly,
Hi,
right?
Lala. So their cyber new types. Our plucky protagonist Mikhail and Kiki are in a search for their commander. Kiki thinks she still has a chance for some reason. They find these children who were part of the Flanagan Institute. They're cyber new types, and they all have the names of the squad because they were given to them when Shiro and Aina visited them before heading on. That's kind of it. And then we find them. They're living in the mountains in a beautiful log cabin that Shiro built with one leg.
It was a bold choice to take the 2 most difficult to like characters from the entire OVA and go, right, these are our guys for this episode.
The Kiki realization when she sees, oh, I don't have a chance, he knocked her up, is very well drawn. But also he already turned her down back when her village was destroyed, so I don't know why she still was holding out hope. Mikhail sucks. Hate him as a point of view character.
Here's what gets me about this whole thing. There's something interesting here in terms of, okay, throw Xeon children who, like I said, I put it together finally that it's like, okay, these are from the artificial new type labs. Like this is kids who were being tested for inducement of new typism. Basically seed them on the planet with this mission. And it's so funny because I have to imagine among the gorillas, there were plenty of orphans that they could have touched on to do this like orphan subplot, orphans of war thing, but they make them Xeon, orphans. And I like this in terms of seeing children who know nothing of human behavior but war and have to be taught everything from how you offer food to someone to how you actually do a funeral to like things like this. I liked this idea in the sense of, on the one hand, it's completely bonkers to imagine that Shiro and Aina found a bunch of feral children, gave them just enough education, and then abandoned them again. Like, that's such a wild concept. But, like, okay, accepting the concept that maybe they did, and I like the idea, if we're going to keep the ambiguous ending, they were inspired, and then we still don't know the fate of Shiro and Aina. We just see their reflection in what skills the kids were able to acquire, and the fact that they have names now. That kind of goes. I kind of like that. If they had ended this episode, which again, unnecessary, but if they had ended this episode with them going, the kids only know that they went north and they just continue their hopeless journey trying to find the commander, I would have been like, well, I don't think that episode was necessary, but I guess it hits the themes. But then they fucking find them, which is where I'm like, it's Jover for me.
Yeah, I was just kind of bored this whole episode. I was like, we ended the story to my satisfaction already. What are we doing?
I was talking to my harem about this, and I was like, hey, don't you want to watch episode 12 where they meet Flanagan's kids? And my harem looked at me like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, the episode we all remember from 08 The Mess Team. That definitely happened.
I briefly, this is one of my only like real notes for this episode, is I briefly lived in the reality at the beginning when they first meet the kids of like, has Shiro done an army of darkness with like a small army of orphan children out in the middle of the Southeast Asian jungle?
Les enfants terribly.
We're already coming down from the finale of the show, and I don't think we needed that long of a I think it would have been better to have lived in that kind of aura of excitement.
It's also 10 minutes longer than the regular episodes for some fucking reason. Also, Kiki is their mom. Kiki falls in the mom role, and it's so painful.
The themes are there, but we don't really do anything with them, and we don't really go anywhere. And at this point, like as a viewer, you've already had you've hit maximum excitement.
I've had closure.
So you can only deflate from this point, and it just feels like a very long, unnecessary deflation of the previous because it doesn't do anything else that, like I said, about the promise of the show that's been fulfilled. And then in turn, this does not deliver any of that. So not to be too wow cool robot about it, but it just kind of really left me wondering, like, who is this for and why is it for?
Also, Mikhail just taking massive L's. There's a subtle implication. He's holding a photograph of his lover on the ship when he's getting drunk, and after the end of the war, she appears to have found a different husband and had a kid, and he has crossed out the husband's face in the photo.
What I love about this is they're trying so hard to condense a hopelessness into this that she is both holding a new baby in a wedding dress. Apparently she gave birth and got married the
Shotgun
same
wedding.
day.
Shotgun wedding.
Yeah,
Shotgun wedding.
It's so funny. It's and by funny I mean it's nothing.
As we walk into kind of our final thoughts on this, I do want to just talk about how this was an OVA. Most of this OVA was kind of released close together. Imagine waiting from April to July to get this final installment.
Oh,
I would simply not watch it.
Yeah.
If I had heard there was such a
wow.
long jump and I had gotten the ending at the end of episode 11, I would have said, okay, well, that episode doesn't exist to me. I am satisfied with what I have gotten so far.
My final thoughts kind of to wrap up on this is like, I could talk about the Milsim part of this, and that's like what a lot of the discourse around 08th MS Team is going to be, is from people who kind of tune in to the Milsim part of it, the mechanical part of it, the real robot part of it, and how they would work in warfare and mixed warfare. But like, I can't get over how much, like, even with how I hate most of these characters for different reasons, the 08th MS Team, like, has a very special place in my heart. The Immortal 4th, who gives a shit about those guys? The 6th, they got blown up. But the 08th, like, I don't know. And also the fact that we don't really, like, I joked about it, we don't revisit this story. This is very much like, it gets used in some video games for different systems, but, like, this is it. And I bit it off, I chew it. God, I just had a good meal.
That's really great.
I think it really thoroughly delivers on the promise it sets out. And I think that's best illustrated in the opening animation that they reuse at the start of every episode. That shows, everything, like the combined arms, the Gundam in the desert being pulled out by a gun tank with winches, the parachuting, the sort of panoramic shots of Southeast Asia and things like that. And I think it sells itself as that. And I think it more than delivers in that. And I think, like I was saying about the scene with the Goof Custom, that duel, I think that does everything the OVA ever set out to do. And I think it's kind of telling that 8th MS Team, in terms of conversations about Gundam, it's one of the ones that comes up the least when it comes to discussions about character, discussions about theming, discussions about, presentation, how it existed in context and things like that. And I don't think that's necessarily bad for a thing to do, because it does everything it sets out to do, but it does feel a little bit sad that as an installment in a franchise such as Gundam, to use another example, like G-Quux is an incredibly divisive thing, but it's got so much to talk about. And I think despite 8th MS Team arguably being a much better put together, much better presented, much more cohesive show that does everything it intended to do, doesn't really leave a lot on the table to be talked about. And it's good and bad in a way. It makes me a little bit sad because I really like it. I think it does everything well, and I think it deserves to be talked about. But at the same time, I will readily acknowledge it doesn't leave a lot to be talked about.
Yeah, I think that's the double-edged sword that I'm feeling with Gundam, which is like, I talked a lot in Unicorn about how, like, there's an airiness to Tomino's writing that makes a lot of the stuff that's supposed to be really important and like change your life and stuff miss for me a little bit, which is what I really liked about like Stardust Memory being so much more grounded, and what I liked about Unicorn being that, like, because Tomino had laid all of this really, really fraught, really, really nuanced groundwork, really, really philosophical groundwork with his airy writing, with his like lofty ideals, with his characters that are less people and more just like things that you can shout into a script. I think that it enables later iterations that are more compact, like OVAs, to play with that stuff in a way that like is really satisfying, really compelling. Like I said, I think that like the stuff that happens with Shiro in the late game is some of that being reflected in a way that is like very, very successful. But on the other hand, because it's so grounded, because it's so realistic, because it's so gritty, because it has less of that philosophy, has less like philosophizing going on in the script. Like you said, it's a little bit harder to like have that staying power. I think this is to me kind of the opposite of Unicorn, where the first 70% of Unicorn, I am so in. The dialogue is so good. The action is so good. The characters are amazing. And then it completely explodes and cannibalizes itself in the last 30-ish percent. This did not hit for me until the last 30%, because of all of that stuff. And I think that like that is indicative of the different ways you can approach like doing a Gundam. And I will say that my last thought is, oh my fucking God, I'm so sick of the Universal Century. Please give me IBO or something. Oh my God.
Looks at schedule. Bad news.
Yeah.
No, we only have one more Universal Century.
I think my final thought is that Shiro Mata is much like my husband in that he's a man who's left me. Sorry, we didn't get to that note, but that's like Karen Joshua's major
That's all men
note.
do.
When
They
he
leave you.
retires, she's like, all men do is leave me. And I'm like, girl, anyway,
Brain
that's all I
Powered is
got.
here. The specter of Brain Powered is haunting 08MS team.
They really, I mean, I feel like if both sides spent as much time on mental health care as they did new type development, they might, not have soldiers who have these ideals of we can get along with them.
It's hard to cure mental health. It's a lot easier to induce a new, cool mental illness. So, but Alice, I'm feeling nerve impulses fire in my body without my consent. It seems like the conditioning is taking over. I have to demand of you, what do we do next?
Well, Pla 13, we've got to rate these goddamn mechs. Thank you. I am activating your code phrase that you go last because you're the host. And we'll go. I'll let you make this final decision for yourself.
I'm gonna throw to John. How are you feeling on the ratings? Our scientific system, appropriate to be applied to these technical machines.
And remember, you're going first, so you're setting the tone for all of this. No pressure.
Yeah, I feel like, much like this OVA itself, I'm coming into this, last 7% of the show being a real downer. I wasn't particularly overwhelmed with them because none of them do anything sort of excessively exciting or new. Like the Ground Gundam is the RX-78 with a few studs and with a few bits squared off. The Ground GM, it's a GM, again, like with a bit more detail. The Zaku, I think I read an interview and I think Okawara just said like, yeah, we just took the master grade and drew it. And that was pretty much it. The Apslus, it's one of the cooler looking mobile armors by dint of not being designed in the late 70s. But again, it's the Big Zam's anemic little sister. It's just, I think that
Little Zam.
Lil Zam.
The real
Big
winners
Zam Oni-chan?
No.
are the hover truck, are the 45-degree freight elevator, are the close-ups of the wiring inside the machines. I think those are all really cool. But I think like for the mechs, even the GM sniper is just a Ground GM painted green with a really big gun. So I get that fits the setting, but I think again it's a bit of a shame that we didn't get anything that we could chew on a little bit more. And even the Easy 8 as like the standout. This is the Gundam is just. It's a Gundam kind of wearing hockey pads almost. So, yeah, I give it like a solid 5 because all of the foundations are there. They're all good, but they're not doing anything that's making me sit up and go, wow,
Yeah. All right, Bri, where are you at?
Okay, so I've had such a hard time with this, right? Because like on paper, absolutely none of these mobile suits are working for me except for the Goof. Obviously, I've always loved the Goof. I'm like looking up at my Gunpla collection and I'm like always so sad I don't have a Goof.
Goof Custom HG is a great kit to build. I just built one the other month.
I would love I need to get back into Gunpla. But I just, like I mentioned earlier, like none of the 08MS team suits are working for me. I do like the hover truck. The hover truck is pretty cool. I'm always gonna like a Zaku, but like I said, the Zakus are the star of the first half of the show's fighting, which a lot of it feels just kind of ungrounded and like we're doing war and we're in the jungle and there's fighting, and like the circumstances are not really there to put me in the moment to make me feel like a hype. On the other hand, once we hit episode like 8, where we're doing stuff like I mentioned earlier, also Elidor having to like sit on the gun and tell her where to aim and fire, and having like that tension racket up, and then when we have that great beat where he's not answering her because he's been completely stunned by like absolute fear, is like so good. Like that is what I love in mecha. Like I love when you have to like reckon with the fact that like this machine makes you safe, and yet this contrivance has made it so that you are on the outside. You are in constant danger of being flattened. One of the things I loved about Unicorn was how often Zinnerman was almost being crushed by Xeon suits. And I can't get enough of that stuff. The goof fight is amazing, and like the narrative elements that bring out the best parts of the mechs are so good. But the mechs themselves are generally, like, blanket statement, pretty bad. I think I'm going to give this one a 6.
Okay. Alice, come in here. Your beloved child that I've turned into a sacrificial lamb.
I'm walking into the room, and I'm just carrying all of my kits that I have from this series, which this is the series I have the most kits from. I have the entire 08th MS team. I have the Goof Custom. So here's the thing. The two standouts from this are the Goof Custom and the Easy 8. The Easy 8 gets used in multiple Super Robot Wars, and unfortunately, it is it's kind of just bland every time I see it, because you put it up against what Gundam can be and what Gundam can become. And while it does, like, I keep getting away with it, we are seeing, like, the 06 MS team keeps reappearing because they're in the theater, but it's like, they're just 3 guys. They're just over there.
We have missed the most important mech of this half of the show, though, which is the gigantic freight elevator in the mountain base.
Let's go! 45-degree elevators will never not be the coolest thing in the fucking world.
We need more of them. We've got to get more of them going.
So to kind of go through this ending fight, which is just, hey, I have a nuke, and I'm gonna press the button on the nuke unless you let me evacuate my medic ship. Okay, I hope your brother doesn't do anything crazy and kill a bunch of us with the coolest weapon laser ever.
Okay, just we got the Goof. We got some of the best. I mean, the Goof is one of the best mobile suits of all time. That's just an unassailable design. Then we get the shot of the completed Upsars, which looks a little bit different. It's like floating around. For a second here, it kind of looks okay to me, and then it unfolds those fucking legs.
And the worst bit is, they use the same musical sting when the Norris fight really kicks off, but when it unfolds the legs, I was like, you can't trick me. You can't make me think
do that.
This is cool. That's not what this music is for.
So realistically, guys, what are those giant balls supposed to do?
Who
thought
knows?
This was a good idea? Why is it standing when it can float?
Why is this your magnum opus, you dumb sack of shit?
Why is it full of evil gas?
Yeah.
But you know what? We've got to deploy something to fight this, and we've got to deploy the second coolest mech in this entire series. That's right, the GM Sniper 1. Look at him. He's just a little guy.
Alice moments.
Okay, the GM Sniper 2 remains one of the greatest GM variants ever, and this one is just good. Hey, what if you just had a giant beam rifle? They do a cool part where one on the big tray is hooked up to a shit ton of coolant, because, hey, beam weapons
so it can
at this
fire
time
more
are
continuously. That actually does go unbelievably hard, I have to say. That's
I realize
crazy.
John has not had access to that channel the whole time, so I moved it into the guest area so you could
we've got
see.
a channel I've been posting shit in, sorry.
Yep, there you go. You can actually see it now.
Sorry about that, John.
Oh, hell yeah.
I've just been posting shit from this and referencing it.
This is the
GM
War
Sniper 2
Crime
is
mobile
cool.
suit, though.
Yeah, this is literally the I need you to go do a war crime. This is when we get the Federation kind of disenfranchisement of I am a soldier man versus I am winning the war man. I don't know. It's cool. But this fight just sucks. Literally, it just stands there, shoots a laser, then a GM sniper comes up behind and is like, I'm going to blast you. And Shiro says, I'm going to tackle you before you can shoot the Doom laser. There is a cool shot where she shoots the laser just to scare him and takes out half of a fucking mountain.
That's
and
pretty
like,
cool.
I can do this anytime.
Circle. I loved that part where she's like, okay, you don't cross this. This is where we revisit our themes, right? Because they literally have somebody say it out loud. They're like, oh my God, no one's hands are clean or whatever, whatever. But, and there does feel like there's an element of truth in the idea that at a certain level of command, of simultaneous power over and distance from combat and the enemy, you make horrific decisions because it stops being real to you. Especially those at any rank who've accepted the idea that the enemy is incapable of humanity, and only idealists believe that anything short of total annihilation of the enemy can end the war. And that's actually something we see because we mentioned it before. Both Sanders and Karen have been assigned from the court-martial to execute Shiro if he does any horseshit like what he does, which is he tries to resign in the middle of combat to go save his girlfriend. And Karen gets a target lock. She's going to kill him. She's not, but she is the most serious about actually executing this. And she is the one who articulates this idea of she firmly believes that there is no humanity in the enemy, even though in this scene, what we're seeing is Aina do everything in her power to try to wield diplomacy to de-escalate this situation. And you get to see the difference between Karen, who will stand down from the target lock and go, okay, I choose to believe in you, versus the commander, Yuri, who's just well, we'll play with them. We'll just kind of do whatever is convenient. There's no actual humanity here for us to... I'm just saying, Aina thought she was going to break the cycle of violence, but it failed, and you should have taken the shot.
I agree. I also think this is one of those things that comes up in Gundam a couple times in the future too, particularly in Unicorn. I think of Marita's conversation with Manager, where she says justice doesn't save lives, kindness doesn't save lives. You can't fix the cycle of violence by having the bigger weapon and putting your finger over the button with a threat. You can't. It doesn't work. And I like that part of why this goes wrong.
Well, even the awful commander says a truce at gunpoint is not a truce.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we need to talk about, first off, we didn't talk about it earlier, but the EZ-8 ripped off his dead arm and used it as a weapon in the goof fight, which is pretty neat. Also takes a laser pretty fucking close to the chest and opens up the cockpit. Love this little scene. That's just great. This final shot where he just gets up into the fucking mega particle cannon and the entire EZ-8 is evaporated, including his right leg. That's Gundam, baby.
Leading into that, you've got he's operating the pedals, and Aina is operating the remaining arm. So Aina is the one who controls the EZ-8 to the degree that they turn Guineas into paste. She puts the fist right through the cockpit.
And I think relevant to this sequence is what we saw before, which is when Aina has drawn the circle, and then Guineas is doing war crimes, and she's so over him, and she
with a laptop, by the way.
She says the line, sorry, I've got fussy puppies outside. She says the fucking line, because he says, Mom abandoned us. And she's like, I finally understand why you built this womb for yourself, why you're weird about me. Your mom abandoned you. And my note here just says, when I get to hell, Sigmund Freud better already be running. I'm just I'm so over it. It's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Did you guys see Markiplier's film Iron Womb?
I did in fact see Iron Womb.
So they tackle it. It crashes into the evil Xeon base. We get they kind of hand wave what happens here, which is the 08th MS team is disbanded. Its members sent to other stations, and they never find him, but they do find that at some point somebody was living in the base out of a tent, and they buried some guy under a Christian cross. I'm just going to say God probably wasn't down with what Guineas was doing. I don't think he's getting into heaven.
I know about the Old Testament.
But then, hey guys, let's just... Oh, first off, before we go into the Cap episode, which is a real Cap episode, I do want to show you a picture from the manga adaptation of this that does some weird stuff. Here is the Apsaris with a booster to get to space.
Wait, hold on. No, wait, this is a uterus. Hold on.
That's
I'm
a
gone.
Final Fantasy
I'm gone.
VII boss.
Yeah.
Well, those Final Fantasy VII designs were based on mobile suits, so that makes sense. But I'm pogging, but on the other hand, this looks more like a uterus than it used to, and I don't know. I hate
how well this thing gets drawn for how fucking stupid it is sometimes. Also, this appears as a completed device in the game series Gihren's Greed, which is just a fun little alt history take on this entire universe. That's it. Let's go into the Cap episode. Hey, guys.
Nope. Let's talk about the ending. What I thought, again. So here's the thing. Here's just a little bit of background. On these discs that Brian directed me to locate in a Crash Xeon ship, there was one episode that was like the battle in 3 dimensions, and I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't think this is relevant to what we're covering, so I'm going to skip this. So they literally put the words "the end" on the screen at the end of episode 11.
Yeah.
And then another thing starts playing, and my brain immediately goes, oh, this must be like another thing. Like, this is just like another bonus thing. And I quickly realized that is not the case, but it is so funny that, like, they made an ending to the show. And the note I have here is, like, this is kind of the closest they've gotten to Het Charmuro in the sense that they come from opposing sides. They have things that they care for on both sides mostly, but they see the leadership of both erode and fail them, and they become disillusioned. With their final sacrifice, they prevent a doomsday of a kind, but cannot live in the world they created. Like, the character writing is mostly working. I don't love Shiro and Aina as individuals, but I can understand them loving each other, and their love endears them to me, sort of. The ending is both sad and bittersweet and a little bit ambiguous, and then they drop this on us.
Yeah.
And I feel 50-50 about this ep, where half of it goes a little bit crazy in terms of the implications, and then the other half of it is such a wet fart that I'm just... Anyway, Alice, please proceed. I just wanted to touch on that briefly. That I thought there was an ending. To such a degree, I thought I was watching a bonus feature.
Yeah, I did not need this last episode, but let's. I have 4 notes on this last episode, but we can get into it.
Hey, what was Flanagan doing with those kids?
I had to
Injecting them.
Nothing nefarious.
Interesting. We can just do this real quick. Were they actually ghosts?
No.
Oh, I don't.
We had the Swan, and the Swan, I think, is
Yes.
the shorthand for new type in 0079.
Yeah,
It's
Lala's here.
It's a Lala reference, like, explicitly,
Hi,
right?
Lala. So their cyber new types. Our plucky protagonist Mikhail and Kiki are in a search for their commander. Kiki thinks she still has a chance for some reason. They find these children who were part of the Flanagan Institute, their cyber new types, and they all have the names of the squad because they were given to them when Shiro and Aina visited them before heading on. That's kind of it. And then we find them. They're living in the mountains in a beautiful log cabin that Shiro built with one leg.
It was a bold choice to take the 2 most difficult to like characters from the entire OVA and go, right, these are our guys for this episode.
The Kiki realization when she sees, oh, I don't have a chance, he knocked her up, is very well drawn. But also he already turned her down back when her village was destroyed, so I don't know why she still was holding out hope. Mikhail sucks. Hate him as a point of view character.
Here's what gets me about this whole thing. There's something interesting here in terms of, okay, throw Xeon children who, you know, like I said, I put it together finally that it's like, okay, these are from the artificial new type labs. Like, this is kids who were being tested for inducement of new typism. Basically seed them on the planet with this mission. And it's so funny because I have to imagine among the gorillas, there were plenty of orphans that they could have touched on to do this, like, orphan subplot, orphans of war thing, but they make them Xeon, you know, orphans. And I like this in terms of seeing children who know nothing of human behavior but war and have to be taught everything from how you offer food to someone to how you actually do a funeral to, like, things like this. I liked this idea in the sense of, on the one hand, it's completely bonkers to imagine that Shiro and Aina found a bunch of feral children, gave them just enough education, and then abandoned them again. Like, that's such a wild concept. But, like, okay, accepting the concept that maybe they did, and I like the idea, if we're going to keep the ambiguous ending, you know, they were inspired, and then we still don't know the fate of Shiro and Aina. We just see their reflection in what skills the kids were able to acquire, and the fact that they have names now. That kind of goes. I kind of like that. If they had ended this episode, which again, unnecessary, but if they had ended this episode with them going, the kids only know that they went north and they just continue their hopeless journey trying to find the commander, I would have been like, well, I don't think that episode was necessary, but I guess it hits the themes. But then they fucking find them, which is where I'm like, it's Jover for me.
Yeah, I was just kind of bored this whole episode. I was like, we ended the story to my satisfaction already. What are we doing?
I was talking to my my harem about this, and I was like, "Hey, don't you want to watch episode 12 where they meet Flanagan's kids?" And my harem looked at me like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, the episode we all remember from 08 the Mess Team. That definitely happened."
I briefly. This is one of my only like real notes for this episode. Is I briefly lived in the reality at the beginning when they first meet the kids of like, has Shiro done an army of darkness with like a small army of orphan children out in the middle of the Southeast Asian jungle?
Les enfants terribly.
We're already coming down from the finale of the show, and I don't think we needed that long of a I think it would have been better to have lived in that kind of aura of excitement.
It's also 10 minutes longer than the regular episodes for some fucking reason. Also, Kiki is their mom. Kiki falls in the mom role, and it's so painful.
The themes are there, but we don't really do anything with them, and we don't really go anywhere. And at this point, like as a viewer, you've already had you've hit maximum excitement.
I've had closure.
So you can only deflate from this point, and it just feels like a very long, unnecessary deflation of the previous because it doesn't do anything else that, like I said about the promise of the show, that's been fulfilled. And then in turn, this does not deliver any of that. So not to be too wow cool robot about it, but it just kind of really left me wondering, like, who is this for and why is it for?
Also, Mikhail just taking massive L's. There's a subtle implication. He's holding a photograph of his lover on the ship when he's getting drunk, and after the end of the war, she appears to have found a different husband and had a kid, and he has crossed out the husband's face in the photo.
What I love about this is they're trying so hard to condense a hopelessness into this that she is both holding a new baby in a wedding dress. Apparently she gave birth and got married the
Shotgun
same
wedding.
day.
Shotgun wedding.
Yeah.
Shotgun wedding.
It's so funny. It's and by funny I mean it's nothing.
As we walk into kind of our final thoughts on this, I do want to just talk about how this was an OVA. Most of this OVA was kind of released close together. Imagine waiting from April to July to get this final installment.
Oh,
I would simply not watch it.
Yeah.
If I had heard there was
like,
such a long jump and I had gotten the ending at the end of episode 11, I would have said, okay, well, that episode doesn't exist to me. I am satisfied with what I have gotten so far.
My final thoughts kind of to wrap up on this is like, I could talk about the Milsim part of this, and that's like what a lot of the discourse around 08 the Mess Team is going to be, is from people who kind of tune in to the Milsim part of it, the mechanical part of it, the real robot part of it, and how they would work in warfare and mixed warfare. But like, I can't get over how much, like, even with how I hate most of these characters for different reasons, the 08th MS team, like, has a very special place in my heart. The Immortal 4th, who gives a shit about those guys? The 6th, they got blown up. But the 08th, like, I don't know. And also the fact that we don't really, like, I joked about it, we don't revisit this story. This is very much like, it gets used in some video games for different systems, but, like, this is it. And I bit it off, I chew it. God, I just had a good meal.
That's really great.
I think it really thoroughly delivers on the promise it sets out. And I think that's best illustrated in the opening animation that they reuse at the start of every episode. That shows, everything, like the combined arms, the Gundam in the desert being pulled out by a gun tank with winches, the parachuting, the sort of panoramic shots of Southeast Asia and things like that. And I think it sells itself as that. And I think it more than delivers in that. And I think, like I was saying about the scene with the Goof Custom, that duel, I think that does everything the OVA ever set out to do. And I think it's kind of telling that 8th MS Team, in terms of conversations about Gundam, it's one of the ones that comes up the least when it comes to discussions about character, discussions about theming, discussions about, presentation, how it existed in context and things like that. And I don't think that's necessarily bad for a thing to do, because it does everything it sets out to do, but it does feel a little bit sad that as an installment in a franchise such as Gundam, to use another example, like G-Quux is an incredibly divisive thing, but it's got so much to talk about. And I think despite 8th MS Team arguably being a much better put together, much better presented, much more cohesive show that does everything it intended to do, doesn't really leave a lot on the table to be talked about. And it's good and bad in a way. It makes me a little bit sad because I really like it. I think it does everything well, and I think it deserves to be talked about. But at the same time, I will readily acknowledge it doesn't leave a lot to be talked about.
Yeah, I think that's the double-edged sword that I'm feeling with Gundam, which is like, I talked a lot in Unicorn about how like there's an airiness to Tomino's writing that makes a lot of the stuff that's supposed to be really important and like change your life and stuff miss for me a little bit, which is what I really liked about like Stardust Memory being so much more grounded, and what I liked about Unicorn being that like because Tomino had laid all of this really, really fraught, really, really nuanced groundwork, really, really philosophical groundwork with his airy writing, with his like lofty ideals, with his characters that are less people and more just like things that you can shout into a script. I think that it enables later iterations that are more compact like OVAs to play with that stuff in a way that like is really satisfying, really compelling. Like I said, I think that like the stuff that happens with Shiro in the late game is some of that being reflected in a way that is like very, very successful. But on the other hand, because it's so grounded, because it's so realistic, because it's so gritty, because it has less of that philosophy, has less like philosophizing going on in the script. Like you said, it's a little bit harder to like have that staying power. I think this is to me kind of the opposite of Unicorn, where the first 70% of Unicorn, I am so in. The dialogue is so good. The action is so good. The characters are amazing. And then it completely explodes and cannibalizes itself in the last 30-ish percent. This did not hit for me until the last 30%, because of all of that stuff. And I think that like that is indicative of the different ways you can approach like doing a Gundam. And I will say that my last thought is, oh my fucking God, I'm so sick of the Universal Century. Please give me IBO or something. Oh my God.
Looks at schedule. Bad news.
Yeah.
No, we only have one more Universal Century.
I think my final thought is that Shiro Mata is much like my husband in that he's a man who's left me. Sorry, we didn't get to that note, but that's like Karen Joshua's major.
That's all men do.
When he
leave you.
retires, she's like, all men do is leave me, and I'm like, girl. Anyway,
Brain
that's all I
Powered
got.
is here. The specter of Brain Powered is haunting 08 MS team.
They really. I mean, I feel like if both sides spent as much time on mental health care as they did new type development, they might, not have soldiers who have these ideals of we can get along with them.
It's hard to cure mental health. It's a lot easier to induce a new, cool mental illness. So, but Alice, I'm feeling nerve impulses fire in my body without my consent. It seems like the conditioning is taking over. I have to demand of you, what do we do next?
Well, Plus 13... we've got to rate these goddamn mechs. Thank you. I am activating your code phrase that you go last because you're the host. And we'll go. I'll let you make this final decision for yourself.
I'm gonna throw to John. How are you feeling on the ratings? Our scientific system, appropriate to be applied to these technical machines.
And remember, you're going first, so you're setting the tone for all of this. No pressure.
Yeah, I feel like much like this OVA itself, I'm coming into this, last 7% of the show being a real downer. I wasn't particularly overwhelmed with them because none of them do anything sort of excessively exciting or new. Like the Ground Gundam is the RX-78 with a few studs and with a few bits squared off. The Ground GM, it's a GM, again, like with a bit more detail. The Zaku, I think I read an interview and I think Okawara just said like, yeah, we just took the master grade and drew it. And that was pretty much it. The Apslus, it's one of the cooler looking mobile armors by dint of not being designed in the late 70s. But again, it's the big Zam's anemic little sister. It's just, I think that the
Little Zam.
Lil Zam.
The real
Big
winners
Zam Oni-chan?
No.
are the hover truck the 45-degree freight elevator, the close-ups of the wiring inside the machines. I think those are all really cool. But I think like for the Mechs, even the GM sniper is just a ground GM painted green with a really big gun. So I get that fits the setting, but I think again it's a bit of a shame that we didn't get anything that we could chew on a little bit more. And even the Easy 8 as like the standout. This is the Gundam is just. It's a Gundam kind of wearing hockey pads almost. So, yeah, I give it like a solid 5 because all of the foundations are there. They're all good, but they're not doing anything that's making me sit up and go, wow,
Yeah. All right, Bri, where are you at?
Okay, so I've had such a hard time with this, right? Because like on paper, absolutely none of these mobile suits are working for me except for the Goof. Obviously, I've always loved the Goof. I'm like looking up at my Gunpla collection and I'm like always so sad I don't have a Goof.
Goof Custom HG is a great kit to build. I just built one the other month.
I would love I need to get back into Gunpla. But I just, like I mentioned earlier, like none of the 08MS team suits are working for me. I do like the hover truck. The hover truck is pretty cool. I'm always gonna like a Zaku, but like I said, the Zakus are the star of the first half of the show's fighting, which a lot of it feels just kind of ungrounded and like we're doing war and we're in the jungle and there's fighting and like the circumstances are not really there to put me in the moment to make me feel like a hype. On the other hand, once we hit episode like 8, where we're doing stuff like I mentioned earlier, also Elidor having to like sit on the gun and tell her where to aim and fire and having like that tension racket up, and then when we have that great beat where he's not answering her because he's been completely stunned by like absolute fear, is like so good. Like that is what I love in mecha. Like I love when you have to like reckon with the fact that like this machine makes you safe and yet this contrivance has made it so that you are on the outside, you are in constant danger of being flattened. One of the things I loved about Unicorn was how often Zinnerman was almost being crushed by Xeon suits, and I can't get enough of that stuff. The Goof fight is amazing, and like the narrative elements that bring out the best parts of the mechs are so good. But the mechs themselves are generally, like blanket statement, pretty bad. I think I'm going to give this one a 6.
Okay. Alice, come in here. Your beloved child that I've turned into a sacrificial lamb.
I'm walking into the room, and I'm just carrying all of my kits that I have from this series, which this is the series I have the most kits from. I have the entire 08th MS team. I have the Goof Custom. So here's the thing. The two standouts from this are the Goof Custom and the Easy 8. The Easy 8 gets used in multiple Super Robot Wars, and unfortunately, it is it's kind of just bland every time I see it because you put it up against what Gundam can be and what Gundam can become. And while it does like speak to the realistic grounding of Gundam, at the end of the day, Gundam is kind of a crazy over the top thing in my mind, and the groundedness of this kind of hurts that scoring. The Goof Custom appears in the fucking Netflix CGI movie or series. And I think that alone really just takes so much of this weight. Like when you think of it, Norris really only killed 3 gun tanks and got. He's not that good of an ace. The Easy 8 killed like 3 Zakus. It's not that great. But then there are moments where you're like playing with what a mech is. And that's, we talk about our ideology of what a cool mecha is for this part. And like this does a lot of those cool parts, but it is always couched in this, oh, we are being realistic dude bro soldiers. And in the scale of mechs that we play with, that just doesn't get up to snuff. This Gundam series for me is a 10 out of 10, but the actual mechs in it, in the grand scale of the On the Shoulders of Giants project, this is gonna be a 7. Like they just don't cross that threshold. Yeah. And I have to give them a 7 because I have bought all these kits and I love all of them. But like when people, Jonathan talked about how people point out the Goof fight, I think it's because that's kind of the only extended mech on mech combat we get in this entire series that shows mechs doing cool things. And the Goof stabbing a gun tank in the head and killing the entire crew and making it spurt out oil that looks like blood, that fucking rules. but it's not enough to get it above a 7. Also, worst Zeon mobile armor ever designed. No notes.
Okay, so that brings it to me. I was also doing some complicated math on this, right? Because you're wrong. The Goo fight is